Hey y'all, happy Wednesday. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I was pulling up the content that we're going to be using today and getting that ready. So we are ready to rip and roll. And we're going to talk about Angel Studios today and their involvement, what they knew, what they didn't know. But let's get going. Are you guys ready for this? So the reason why I'm going here is because, hey Limey, hey Language of Horses, Jenny O, aka the Cat Lady. So the reason why I'm going back to Angel Studios really fast, I'm gonna just highlight them a little bit today. This won't be a super long one, but I just want to bring this into perspective. Angel Studios, we are not seeing mentioned in the lawsuits against Tim Ballard and OUR. Angel Studios' piece of this was they are the production company behind the movie The Sound of Freedom. So this movie, just again to kind of lay out the playing field here, the movie is The Sound of Freedom that is stated to be the life and experiences of Tim Ballard and OUR, these paramilitary operations that were rescuing women and children that people have made millions of dollars off of. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit about Angel Studios because not only are people promoting their crap without understanding what the hell this film company is, even like Tyler Feller, but they're not understanding why people are still having issues with the movie. So we're going to look at some of their stuff. We're going to just kind of cover all the ends of this topic with Angel Studios. We're also going to review an article written by Damian Moore of American Crime Journal so you guys can kind of understand it. Those of you that have been here with me before know that Angel Studios, when they go live, is one of my favorite places to troll. Just flat out honest. And it's not that I'm trolling them or being mean to them. I'm asking them actual questions and they cannot answer. They will not answer the questions. We're going to look at a few of those clips too from their YouTube channel. But I just wanted to kind of put this perspective into play because that movie has made millions of dollars. Now we're finding out via this lawsuit that the movie is based in more mistruths the further we get than we even first realized. So that 5% that it might have been factual now seems to be dwindling even more. Why is this movie still on the market? Why have they still been pushing this movie off as a factual film? Granted, Angel Studios and AMC theaters have came out and made statements that it's not, but why are they so silent in this whole thing? They gave huge voices to Tim Ballard based on lies. Do you think that they had any knowledge of this? I want to know, I'm asking you guys now. Do you think that the movie production company, was aware of any of the allegations or rumors swirling in Utah? Again, Angel Studios is based out of Provo, Utah, and it is a Mormon film company owned by the Harmon brothers, which we'll get into. But what do you guys think as of right now, before we go any further? Do you think that they were privy to some of this information that was going on? Do you think they knew that some of these allegations were circling and still considered themselves free and clear? We're just going to go along with it and continue on. What are your thoughts on that? Okay, Jenny O. Hey, Rapper. Hey, Lorraine. Hey, Marcy. Hey, y'all coming in. Hey, T. Hey, Mary. You guys do. Okay. Okay. Let's get into it. Let's just go look for a minute at some stuff, because I figured, you know what? This piece doesn't get talked about very often. There's so many pieces of this, but we talk about Angel Studios quite a bit over here. It's something that I think we're pretty knowledgeable about, just considering all of the people that we seem to talk about promotes Angel Studios or films that they push. So in my opinion, I'll tell you my opinion again. This is just based off of my opinion. I feel that they had to have known even before seeing these articles that I'm going to pull up today. I feel that being in the circles that they ran in Utah, there was no way that they weren't aware. Sorry, you guys, I got a lash in my eye, so I'm like bugging out here. Okay, this is from Wikipedia, which Wikipedia is not a verified source or anything, but some of this is good information in here, so you can kind of self-report on Wikipedia, which is always a problem too. But it does give some factual insight into Angel Studios, so we'll just pick through some of it and talk about a little bit. Angel Studios Incorporated is an American media company and film distribution studio based in Provo, Utah. That is a fact. It operates the over-the-top video on-demand service Angel Studios. Yes, there is an app. The streaming service is available worldwide and can be accessed via web browsers or via application software installed on smartphones, tablet computers, and smart TVs. They have a streaming service and they do have an app, of course. This is where it gets really funny to me. A little, I shouldn't say funny, a little iffy. God dang, that lash is really bugging me. The studio uses equity crowdfunding to finance its original productions by offering individual investors the opportunity to purchase shares in the company and its titles. Content produced by Angel Studios is distributed for free on their own streaming service. Some titles are also available in other third-party streaming services, such as distribution deals. That's a little interesting to me because they use crowdfunding, and they absolutely do. We'll go on that site and show you that. Notable titles that Angel Studios has produced through crowdfunding include The Chosen, Dry Bar Comedy, Wing Feather Saga, The Tuttle Twins. The Chosen raised $10.3 million for its production and was the largest crowdfunded entertainment project in history until March 2023, when it was surpassed by David, which has raised $49.7 million in crowdfunded investments through Angel Studios. I was thinking at first, like, there's no way, right? There's apps. I might have to go do something with this slash. It's really going to bug me. Sorry, y'all. Angel Studios emerged as the result of a bankruptcy reorganization from VidAngel after a 4-year lawsuit by major entertainment studios. A year after bankruptcy in May 2022, Angel Studios reports that it has $123 million in revenue and that 50,000 people have invested over $100 million for production of a new original content on its platform. Angel's first major box office blockbuster success came as a result as its July 3rd, 2023 release of The Sound of Freedom, which on a $14.5 million budget has grossed to date over $230 million, designating Angel Studios as a minor major independent. That's a lot. Like, what do they do here with all that money? Hey, Kay. That just seems like a lot. So we're going to skip through the early years. That was before it became Angel Studios. In December 2016, VidAngel was undergoing a lawsuit. To raise money for operations and lawsuit costs, the companies conducted a Regulation A+ securities offering with a goal of $5 million in investment. It met its goal after 28 hours and had crowdfunded over $10 million after 5 days. In 2017, the company conducted another Regulation A+ securities offering to crowdfund season 1 of The Chosen. Neil Harmon and Jeff Harmon worked together with Dallas Jenkins and Daryl Eves to produce a stream of multi-season television series about the life of Jesus and his disciples. After a pilot episode was developed, the company raised $13 million in equity crowdfunding to finance the first season, the largest amount ever crowdfunded for a TV show. Also in 2017, a third foray into equity crowdfunding came into launch of Dry Bar Comedy, a series of 52 original stand-up comedy sets filmed in Utah that are generally clean and performed by lesser-known comedians. Much of its content went viral, with Dry Bar Comedy videos receiving over 2 billion views as of 2021. The success of Dry Bar Comedy and The Chosen gave way to a new business model that would allow the company to produce and distribute original content. The founders decided to focus on developing original content using its equity crowdfunding model and rebrand as Angel Studios. Angel Studios was named after the angel investors that participate in the new model that uses equity crowdfunding to finance original productions. These productions are distributed via Angel Studios streaming platform for free. The company relies on a pay-what-you-want revenue model coined Pay It Forward, in which viewers can optionally pay for the content if they choose to support it. In early 2021, Angel Studios purchased the domain angel.com for $2 million. Soon after, Angel Studios launched an investment portal called Angel Funding that offered investment opportunities through regulation crowdfunding securities offerings. Several productions were successfully funded through the investment portal after its launch in March of 2021. Tuttle Twins, a show for children with educational themes on economic freedom, raised $4.6 million in equity crowdfunding for its production. The Wing Feather Saga, an animated series based on the award-winning book collection of the same name, raised $1 million in the first 48 hours and $5 million in 20 days. In April 2021, The Chosen, which was originally distributed through the VidAngel platform, was made available on Angel Studios for the launch of season 2. The show became a viral hit with renowned success worldwide. That's a lot of money being thrown into these. That's a lot of money. In 2022, Angel Studios raised $47 million in an investment round led by Gig Fund, a venture capital company. As of 2022, Angel Studios had 50,000 individual investors and had over $100 million worth of original content, including 12 titles in production. So here is some of their, can you guys see that? It's not super big, but you can hopefully scroll in. That's a lot of money. And again, this is a Mormon-based film production company. Sound of Freedom had been declined by Disney and other production companies out of Hollywood or anywhere else. So Angel Studios picked it up. And how they did that was by crowdfunding. Where is this money going now? Where's the money going back to? Here's all of everything they've got. So it's got the seasons, the episodes, everything of like their shows. But here's their original films. Sound of Freedom. This is the one we're looking for. July 4th, 2023, which is actually July 3rd, 2023. 131 minutes long, theatrically released through AMC Studios and other smaller studios around the country. The budget was $14.5 million, and they've raised $234.4. That's what they've grossed as of right now. And that was from October 16th, 2023. What? I don't know. That just bothers me so much. As of July 2023, Angel's distributed feature films include His Only Son, a March 2023 live action drama retelling the biblical story. All of their movies and stuff are religion themed. Most of them are. A lot of them do have a Mormon undertone to them or have connections to the Mormon world. Sound of Freedom. Here we go. On July 3rd, 2023, Angel Studios released the film Sound of Freedom to 2,626 theaters, increasing to 3,285 theaters on July 14th, directed by Alejandro Monteverde and based on true events. based on true events, which we know now are not true events. Tim Ballard was fired from the CIA. Didn't even pass the tests, and he was an unpaid intern, according to the lawsuit coming out. So again, why it's called the true events, I have no idea. The film stars Jim Caviezel, QAnon conspiracy theorist Mira Savino, who has been the celebrity face of child trafficking for a long time, and Bill Camp. Originally a 20th Century Fox release before Disney acquired the label, Disney refused to release the film until Angel Studios acquired the rights for $5 million. Before the film opened, Sound of Freedom earned over $10 million. Before the film opened, Sound of Freedom earned over $10 million in pre-ticket sales through Angel's crowdfunding and pay-it-forward model. It reached number 1 on July 4th, 2023, beating Disney's release of Indiana Jones and the Dial of the Destiny that day, and earned $40 million in its first 6 days. To date, Sound of Freedom has earned over $230 million, and it's the 9th highest grossing American film of 2023. An expansion to international cinemas for the $14.5 million budgeted film was announced on Angel Studios' X page, starting with South Africa on August 18th. This represents Angel Studios' first worldwide release in multiple international markets for the company. Think about that. Think about that. Okay, now hold on though. We're not done yet here. This is okay, so they earned $10 million before the film even released. $10 million before the film released. Sorry, you guys, get my face for a second because I'm going to try to link to this other site right quick. Angel funding. Hold on. It might not pull up as easy. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay. This is the one I want to show you guys. All right, let's go over here. We are now on their investment page. Hey, Peekaboo. Hey, Rockabit. Hey, Quirky. Lorraine, right? And to think that they're not listed in this lawsuit, just to be transparent, they are absolutely not listed in this lawsuit as of right now. But where did the money go from the movie? Where's the profits going? Is it going back to the investors? Do they get a return on their investment? I mean, we have people who invested in the Sound of Freedom that have allegedly harmed children and have records of harming children. We saw that some of the donators were being outed for having charges involving children. Where'd that money go? Why is it being said to be a true story? Okay, just wait. Now let's look at this. So this is their angel funding. This is where you can go. Right, Language of Horses, and they made 10. Peekaboo. So one of the things within the Mormon, this is because it's a Mormon film-based company, this production company, and I don't know who these people are that are saying like Mormons encourage you to go research stuff yourself, because that is not the truth at all. They actually do not. And so an in-house production company like this would be promoted by the church as a safe resource, a factual resource. So Mormons feel that it's allowed, like these movies that Angel Studios produces are allowed for them to watch. You know, it's factual, like they will believe whatever they're told. But one thing that me and Kyle have been talking a lot about lately is the fundraising aspect within the Mormon church and these crowdfunding projects and the pay it forward. That is something that they are taught. That is bred into them. It's an indoctrination part of it. And it might not be everywhere across the country, but in Utah, it is a thing. The fundraising moves that the Mormon companies make, because if they're promoted by the church, sorry, Keke wants in. If they are promoted by the church and from within the church, they absolutely get a leg up. they get a leg up on all this. So they helped, in my opinion, because, well, we'll get there. But let's go down and look at some of this. Keke, can you move your butt, please? That would be great. All right. So here you can create your investment account. And wouldn't you know, a little birdie told me that these are usually tax deductible donations. So these wealthy Mormons donate to stuff like this and get a tax write-off on it. I'm not sure how that all works, but I have to look into that more about the whole tax part of this whole thing with Angel Studios. But seems like a lot of, and if you think back to the lawsuit too, we were just talking about how the Mormon church is stated to have given the wealthy tithing records to OUR for their fundraising ventures. So who's to say they haven't done that to other companies like Sound of Freedom to know who to, get money from. Plus, they also, Angel Studios, in my opinion, promotes a lot of the crazy conspiracy theory BS. A lot of it, the extreme. And I'm not talking just like normal. We're talking the extremes. We're not talking religious propaganda, right wing. We're talking the extremes of the extremes. Okay, so look here on your screen, making sure you guys can see it. Yep, you can. Okay. So Sound of Freedom, 120% return of investment. 4,999,436 raised. 6,676 investors. Payout processed 59 days after the offering closed. Investing in the Sound of Freedom resonated as an opportunity to be a part of something bigger and helping change the world. I'm so glad I invested, said Kathleen. Sound of Freedom, based on the incredible true story, shines a light on even the darkest of places. After rescuing a young boy from his ruthless child traffickers, a federal agent learns the boy's sister is still captive and decides to embark on a dangerous mission to save her. With time running out, he quits his job and journeys deep into the Colombian jungle, putting his life on the line to free her from a fate worse than death. Sound of Freedom, directed and co-written by Alejandro Monteverde, is a remarkable testament of the power of storytelling and community. Storytelling is absolutely right. Despite its low budget, the film has achieved outstanding success at the box office and its ability to shed light on a crucial social issue. Sound of Freedom defied budgetary constraints, generating $180 million in domestic sales. This achievement is especially remarkable in the context of its competitive summer release date, outperforming franchise blockbusters like Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Most impressively, Sound of Freedom is now one of the most successful independent films of all times, in providing an impressive 120% return to investors. Sound of Freedom has solidified its place in history as an indie hit with a powerful message. I don't know about y'all, but that kind of sounds fishy to me in every way of it. Every bit of it. But let's continue to go down here and look at some of their other projects. So these are some of the things that they are funding right now. These are current things that they're being funded. So my understanding is, so let's break this apart. So they can invest in these projects and they, will get a return on their investment. However, because of how the campaigns are ran, the pay it forward is like a tax deductible donation. So if they're buying tickets and paying it forward, so there's two pieces of this. The people who are investing in the movie for the production side of it. And then you have the people who are donating because, if you can't get to the movie or somebody can't afford to see it, pay it forward, buy tickets in advance. So people are donating, in essence, these tickets or money for other people supposedly to go see the film. So you've got two different pieces of this going. So it's crowdfunded, the movie to begin with. There's a return on their investment. And then you've got the marketing technique of using the pay it forward method to get people to open up and donate. That would be the tax deductible side of it, in my opinion. Crazy. Thank you, Dragonfly. Is that weird to anybody else? Does this not send like, what are we doing here? But let's look through some of these. And then we've got more to get through. This is just, oh, this is a lot. That's what I'm saying, you guys. There is every angle you look on this story. We have a buddy today. He's helping today, I guess. Are you helping? I'm sitting. I always sit with my leg on my desk. That's why. But he's just sitting here. Come here. Look up. You were just sitting there looking up for a while. Can you look at the camera? No, he will never make direct contact with you guys. He's always like, here, look up. Look up, Keke. Keke, can you show him your pretty face? Can you quit rubbing? Can you show him your pretty face? Oh, the pretty boy. Oh, just a pretty boy. Okay, there's your Keke cam for today. Goodness, Kiki's a mess. He's always got to be right in the camera. All right, sorry about that. Hey, Pete. Right? This is just wild to me. Okay, here we go. The Shift movie P&A loan offering, and I don't know a lot of these like investment things as far as that goes. I would love to find out find somebody that knows more on like the regulatory things around this. So that is something I am looking into, is finding somebody that can break all this down on how this all works, because it just seems like red flag after red flag to me. So they're at 618, 448 people, 9 days left, stated to release December 1st. David, a feature film. There's no better story of faith and courage than that of David, who not only defeated a giant, but inspired a nation. Throughout David's life, he was a warrior, a poet, shepherd, and a king whose life was full of energy and adventure. David portrays the possibility of living and breathing relationship with God. You will be redirected to David, the movie. These are the ones that they're gauging interest in. Look at this. Hey, Tracy, look at this crap here. Axiom Chronicles. Almost 1.3 million expressed interest already. Jacob, almost 6, but 5.8 million expressed interest. 6,347 people expressed interest. 1461. This is just crazy. Now look at this. Successfully funded. Here's the ones that they've successfully funded and are closed. The Shift, 574,000. Gabriel and the Guardians, 561,000. Live Not by Lies, 895,000. After Death, 1.2 million. The German King, 900,000. Truth and Conviction, 260,000. Oh, previous rounds, though. They've done multiple rounds on this one. In 2022, they did a round of this for this exact movie, and it had 1,000 backers, and we raised 600,000. Jesus. Angel Studios, which we just went over. Homestead, 1.2 million, almost 1.3. Testament, 430,000. And they did another previous round on that one and raised 400 and almost 50,000. Jeez Louise. Sorry, y'all. This lash I'm going to have to fix it and pull it off when I'm done. I got a piece of lash or adhesive sticking down on my waterline, and it's driving me nuts. It itches. The Wing Feather Saga, season 2, 460,000 almost. His Only Son, 1.2 million. Dry Bar Unscripted, 472,000. Look at all of these. Oh, and this one look at this. Can you see that? You guys can see that. For The Shift, 2019, they did this, and they raised 152,000. 2021, 1,286 backers, 574,000 raised. Another in 2021, 1,800 backers, over $1 million raised. So they've done 3 previous rounds for investors to sign on to this. So what happens if the movie's a flop? Hey, Jen. Hey, Holly. Hey, Marie. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, Tracy, at all. That honestly doesn't surprise me. Not one bit. I would like to know where all this money went. But look at these. Almost 1.7, 4.9 million on David. The Ride and the Dance, 1.5 million. The Wing Feather, almost 5 million. The Tuttle Twins, 2.6. Angel Studios. What's that, I wonder? Hollywood has been controlling what we watch for the last 100 years.
Hollywood has been controlling what we watch for the last 100 years.
You guys hear that?
And who approves every cookie-cutter rom-com, superhero flick, and reality show? Only a handful of Hollywood executives. A handful's all you need. A handful's all you need. That means Green Lantern was greenlit by fewer people than actually...
Oh, so this is... And here you go. This is a great example of how Angel Studios is trying to freedom of speech, religious freedom, Mormon stories. It's another big push behind. They're trying to control the narrative in Hollywood. Everybody in Hollywood is elitist and is a part of these adrenochrome, children harming, all of that insanity. This is what this kind of all funnels around. And here is the production film behind these films. Interesting. Let's continue to watch a little bit of this.
Liked Green Lantern. We liked Green Lantern. It was okay. If I wanted to have billions of dollars spent by a small group of old white guys on stuff I don't need, I'd pay my taxes. And sure, Hollywood makes some great stuff. I love The Mandalorian as much as anyone, but Hollywood produces over 1,500 movies and TV shows a year. That means for every one Baby Yoda, Hollywood makes 400 new Housewives of Atlanta. And that is not the way. Hollywood
people love reality TV.
has no idea what type of content actually matters to you.
Oh, okay. That's why these... Anyways, continue on.
80% of Hollywood movies fail because they don't have a soul.
What's a soul?
Sold mine years ago. How many new movies did you watch last year that left you feeling empty? A business model that fails you 80% of the time is just guessing. If doctors had an 80% failure rate, you'd call them chiropractors. Hollywood can't know what you want because they're not you. So, for the first time ever, there's a way to create high-quality TV and film without the Hollywood guesswork. And the best part? The content is chosen by the greatest executives of all time. You. It's called Angel Studios, the film studio that only creates the content you choose. Go to invest in...
So who chose Tim Ballard's true fictional story? Who chose that? Oh, wait, Tim Ballard did. And then how you market it was fabricated because you were astroturfing theaters to market that. And the whole pay it forward, where did the money go? Oh, but we get a choice in this, right? Okay.
Angel.com to learn how to become an investor today. You are the best decision makers when it comes to film and TV. For example, 19,000 of you as angel investors wanted a TV series with a historically accurate depiction of Jesus. So you invested over $10 million to produce The Chosen, which became a smash hit, being viewed over 100 million times, generating over $30 million in revenue with season 2 in production. 19,000 of you decided to make that happen. For context, a dozen people decided to make Cats happen. So, and what's even more amazing than The Chosen's financial success is how compelling it is as a TV show. With 12,000 positive reviews on IMDb and a 100% Rotten Tomatoes score, The Chosen isn't just good as an idea, it's just good. You angel investors are better at choosing successful projects than Hollywood. Almost 8,000 of you helped create Dry Bar Comedy, which is now the largest online library of stand-up comedy.
Does anybody have a clue of how many Mormons are across the globe? Just venturing to ask a question on that. Does this shock anybody that this company has been so wildly successful and funded by the people that are pushing these insane conspiracies and this extremist, toxic, in my opinion, behavior that we're watching Tim Ballard, Ruby Franke, Jody Hildebrandt, Chad Daybell, and the many likes, Lori Vallow, all of them. Are you guys shocked that this is, no, it shouldn't be shocking.
Dry Bar Comedy is now on XM Radio, cable TV, and Peacock, and it gets over 1 billion views per year. Thousands of angel investors.
It's clean comedy, meaning appropriate for those of you that want to keep your covenants and your temple recommends.
Raised over $1 million to fund the Tuttle Twins, the most crowdfunded kids cartoon in U.S. history. And the accompanying Tuttle Twins books have sold over 2 million copies. And most recently, fans of Studio C raised over $1 million for Freelancers, which is the epic story chronicling millennials' greatest challenge, trying to find a job.
Ooh, he's hot.
Oh, he knows. Angel Studios has produced content that makes a lot of money, but more importantly, it's content that feeds the soul. After watching The Chosen, John said, "I've never felt more connected to Jesus and his disciples than I did watching The Chosen." A fan of Dry Bar Comedy wrote, "I suffer from depression, and the pandemic has only made it worse. You made me laugh. I haven't laughed like that in years."
Great.
And after watching the Emoji Movie, we all said, yuck. So, if you want to create the platform that produces incredible content that you actually want to watch, invest in Angel Studios at investinangel.com. Last year, Angel Studios made revenues of $47 million. And with your help, we think we can make a lot more.
I bet you guys can, especially telling fictional stories claiming that they're actually factual. Meanwhile, the truth of the movie that you should have produced was how Tim Ballard was lying and manipulating, and in my opinion, coercing people into believing that he was this hero. Meanwhile, in my opinion, again, assaulting people and grooming women and potentially others. I assume you're going to do Sound of Freedom Part 2, the victim of the voices, or the voices of the victims. I mean, that would make sense to return the revenue into the project that's actually factual, right?
You can become an angel investor for just $8.90 a share. That's the same amount of money I'll pay you to stop supporting The Bachelor. There's been 24 seasons and 1 successful marriage. It's a broken model, people. Potential investment
It's reality TV. People love smutty TV, okay? Come on now.
will do 4 things. Build the Angel streaming app, expand the crowdfunding platform, market to new audiences, and banish Hollywood execs to purgatory.
Suckers were already there.
Joke's on him. As an angel investor, when we win, you win. And with our existing 30,000 angel investors, that's a win, 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 win. As with all investment, we recommend you only invest as much as you're willing to lose. But if you had invested with us in round 1 back in 2016, your investment would already be worth almost 3x. But if you missed out on 300% growth, don't fret. There is even bigger potential in round 2. Each year, movies and TV make over $280 billion, and that's before you count merchandise and box office. And we're not allowed to legally speculate on growth, but I'm going to point at this and wink at you. Angel Studios is your chance to transform the next generation of TV and film with content that matters.
Tell me this doesn't seem like a way of MLMing Hollywood films. Does this not seem like they have taken an MLM scheme and flipped it up a little bit into a production company? Yes, Holly, 100%. It seems, and why wouldn't it be out of Utah? Utah is the MLM capital of the world. Every single person around this, the production company, the people involved. Okay, let's finish this and then let's get into the meat and potatoes of why I'm talking about this.
While giving yourself the opportunity to make a lot of money. Making money while doing good in the world? What is this, the opposite of paying taxes? It is. So go to investinangel.com to learn how to become an angel investor today. What are you waiting for, you big film producer? The best stuff we'll ever watch is waiting for you to make it. Angel Studios. Be part of stories that matter.
Or fictional films like The Sound of Freedom. Okay. All right. That's about enough of that bullshit. But as you can see, and I encourage you, go over to Angel Funding /investments if you want to see more of this. All right. So let's get into why we're talking about all of this today. So I posed the question, do you think Angel Studios had information? Were they privy to the information and the rumors going around in Utah surrounding this before they decided to sign on and still produce the film. Granted, we know that they've made huge money off of this. There's been a major profit. It's gone worldwide. Where's the money going? Who's it going back to besides the investors and the actors and, you know, so on and so forth? I would love to see a breakdown of everything like that. Hey, Peppermint Patty. Hey, Blank Slate, Wise Angel. Hey, everybody coming in. Yeah. Oh, Holly. Yeah, for sure. But I asked that question, and most of you that were in here said, yes, you believe that they had some sort of, they were probably aware of some of it. So let's go over here for a moment. Sorry. They always, when you go to their website, it pops up their trailer thing. So give me 1 second. Let me share this tab instead. All right. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go to their videos. You guys can't see it yet. Okay, there you go. All right. So here is this is on their video side. This is Angel Studios YouTube page. This is all of their podcasts, everything that they're pushing out when they started pushing the trailers of The Sound of Freedom. But what I want to look at is the live feeds and then defending themselves because it's really freaking funny. Okay, so Sound of Freedom live Q&A with Alejandro Monteverde 3 weeks ago. Angel update, watch The Sound of Freedom early 3 weeks ago. Again, and this, you guys, if you want to see The Sound of Freedom, if you still are, it's on Peacock for free. Go watch it on Peacock. Okay, now let's go back even further. They did an update a month ago. Remember, these allegations started swirling quite a while ago, as we've seen with Lynn Packer's investigating. These rumors had been swirling for years. Crowdfunding is officially open. They talk about it there. Okay, let's continue to go back just a little bit more. Roundtable. This is the one we watched in one of the previous films when I was in there trolling them. Angel original Sound of Freedom success and anti-trafficking expert.
Is the story of the wing feather sock. And
hold on, we're gonna fast forward here. Okay.
Not excited for something like that.
He told me not to do that.
Yeah,
He's
I
the most
specifically gave
humble
one
person.
instruction. Please don't intro me in a weird way.
I was like, I don't know how he's going to react, but I'm going to do it.
Well, we've got an amazing live stream for you guys today. At the end of the live stream, so stay tuned. At the end of the live stream, we have a very, very special guest popping in. So just know this person is extremely talented. Many of you are familiar with their work and have seen their work. So please stay tuned to the end of the live stream. Amazing stuff coming up. So
yeah, and guys, we have been growing so rapidly at Angel Studios thanks to your support. So we thought it'd be really cool to start looping you guys in and fill you in on kind of what's happening here at Angel. So
yeah, go ahead and fill us in. You're going to talk about the rumors and the allegations, right? After the film came out and all of that, correct? You're going to have transparency. That's what I would assume, right?
We're going to start this new series where Jordan and I do just that. We're going to fill you in, let you know a little bit about what's going on here at Angel.
there's some amazing things coming down the pipeline.
By the way, Jordan Harmon is one of the brothers and co-owners of Angel Studios.
One of the coolest parts about this is when we started Angel Studios 10 years ago as brothers and a cousin, we always had this like vision of getting to this point.
Yeah.
But once you hit it, it's surreal, but it's also because of you guys, the angels who have come and supported us through thick and thin.
It's called because of you helping use somebody's story that's a humanitarian issue, such as trafficking, that people are genuinely concerned about. You used a story like that in my opinion, a fraud like Tim Ballard to claim that you opened up this conversation and got all this amazing traction going. Where's the money going, Angel Studios? And why haven't you corrected any of the misinformation that you've helped put out? Hey, Bright. Yeah, I agree with you, Bright, on I don't watch a lot of that stuff. to each their own on their opinions of Hollywood. I think it's the same. It's pick and choose. Not all of them are corrupt, but a lot of them are. Like, it's people don't get rich and get famous from being usually very transparent. Let's be truthful there. Like, that's just the case of it. But let's continue to watch a little bit more, because they absolutely profited and gained off of the fabricated story of Tim Ballard. Meanwhile, they have not acknowledged once that the victims deserve voices. They have not acknowledged that the basis of this film, The Sound of Freedom, this true heroic story of Tim Ballard, is fictional. Besides a little excerpt on their, homepage. So much bullshit.
Helping us get through some of the darkest and some of the best days of our lives. And so we are so, so grateful. And so this regular live stream will be the opportunity for you to come in, get an update on all the incredible content that's coming, all the incredible content that maybe no one knows about, probably some sneak peeks here and there. There might be some today. But yes, please join us on a regular monthly basis where we will be updating you on all things Angel.
Yeah, basically that means we're just not going to be transparent. But I'm going to go here and show you guys who their special guest was. They go on, they basically tell you in this whole thing, it's what they do in their live streams is they promote, they show you how to support. It is the fundraising machine. It is a money-making machine. They are crowdfunding all of this. They're selling merch. They're selling you fabricated stuff. It just does not add up. But hey, where did he go? I'm not impressed. There he is. Alejandro Monteverde.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
We actually just had someone walk in. This is that special guest we were telling you about. Come over here in between us, my friend.
Take the mic.
This is Alejandro Monteverde. This is the incredible director of Sound of Freedom, of Cabrini, and he has many more incredible projects that are in the works. But we wanted you guys to know that, like, you're going to hear a little bit about his heart tomorrow. But Alejandro, why don't you say hi and tell me what you got going tomorrow?
Hello, everybody. Well, I'm so excited.
For those of you that don't know, he is the executive producer, just like you said, of The Sound of Freedom.
Talk to you about
another one of the corrupt, in my opinion, people involved with this fabricated film that has done nothing but harm victims. Because unfortunately, with how they brought Tim up and gave him all these blessings, and he was basically unchecked, unquestioned for all of these years, people around him didn't do their due diligence at all and vet a single thing about Tim Ballard, and then gave him this platform to continue to harm victims over and over again. Who do you think was funding the trips going out of the country and these overnight stays for him to, in my opinion, coerce and groom more victims? The audience. People who Angel Studios, in my opinion, also has a hand in that, because they gave him unlimited power and money because they wanted to make a film out of his true story. I think they're culpable, in my opinion, too. Again, this is my opinion, but I don't know. It's disgusting to me.
our next film, Cabrini, and
Hey,
diving
Colleen.
into it. It was we attempted, and I think
Absolutely,
what I'm
Colleen.
hearing from people's reactions is to create a cinematic experience.
100%.
It
So,
is.
This is one you have.
love
This
it.
one we were actually talking today. This demands to be seen in theaters.
Yeah.
yeah, this is not a movie that you watch; it's a movie that you experience. So I kind of
I will say it firsthand. All the Mormons I know have the gift of gab. And they're, like I told you guys before, a lot of my friends are Mormon, but they are incredible human beings. But they can pick, they're worldly Mormons, though, I guess is what I would say about the people I run around with that are Mormon. So they do their due diligence, but they do have a tendency of buying into the hype, the MLM stuff within the Mormon world. You see these schemes, they're all inspirational speakers. They have funding, like the fundraising that they are taught and how to get people. Missionaries are almost taught that, though. I'm saving that to get into that another day, but I have a missionary, an ex-missionary, who is still an active member. So we were trying to figure out how to interview him without him being known. But this is something that they're almost taught in the MTC, like how to coerce people into becoming members of the church. And then it kind of just, it's almost like a training of how to manipulate people into believing anything they say. And the way he explained it is mind-blowing to say the least, because I never even looked at it that way. Their job, missionaries' jobs, are to get people to become members of the Mormon Church, because members of the Mormon Church, in order to get a temple recommend, remember, and the 3 levels of heaven, you have to be a temple holding member, and that includes tithing 10% of your income to the Mormon Church monthly, which if you're one of the higher up wealthy ones, just be aware that according to the lawsuit that was filed in the amended complaints, your information might just be given to some of these people who are fundraising. It is crazy to me, though, the amount of manipulation around spiritual, like faith manipulation, spiritual manipulation that these companies are using. But the Mormon Church is a big, huge business, and all of these people off of it are major. One more clip I wanted to show you before we get into the next. Oh, okay. Here we go.
Those kids.
And don't worry, we are going to come back to this one more time here in a minute. Let me show you guys this. Jenny O, I actually know a lot about the Maloof Foundation. I saw your comments and I was like, oh, brother. Yeah, I know a lot about that. We can get into that someday too if you are interested in my thoughts on that, because yeah, I do. So sidetrack before we get into this. I sold LuLaRoe, which was an MLM based out of based out of Utah, which the owners ended up eventually living in California. So it was based out of California, but Mormon ties, of course. So when I got out of that and realized, again, I knew a lot of the family, the high ups, the owners, their families, their nephew, the one that got taken to court for fraud. Yeah, I knew him personally. Anyways, Sam. But paparazzi and LuLaRoe work hand in hand. There was a lot of LuLaRoe girls that sold paparazzi too, or had paparazzi contracts because they would throw in paparazzi jewelry with their stuff. So I didn't know much about paparazzi myself, and I had other friends that were consultants for it. So I ended up looking into it a little bit, and the Maloof Foundation is where I saw, yeah, there's a whole lot there. Same thing though, the MLMs, the way it's all found. In an MLM, your consultants become your customers. It's the money that keeps rotating through. So people end up like, I never was good at LuLaRoe because I would turn and burn my LuLaRoe. I would discount it, which you weren't supposed to, and get it off my shelf, because sitting inventory is just stagnant inventory. And that was not the way it's supposed to be ran. You're supposed to have the more, the merrier. So people just invest. They have, same with paparazzi, they have pieces that will never, ever sell. And it's, yeah, we can get into that whole piece of it too, though, because that is a very intriguing conversation to have. The companies associated with the MLMs it's a lot. Okay, sorry, back to this right quick. Let me fast forward it. I'm not going to play the trailer because it's heavy. Well, I'll play the trailer for you guys that might not have seen the movie yet. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me pull it full screen for you guys. Okay. We're not going to listen to this whole thing because we still got a whole article to get through that I just adore Lynn Packer and Damian Moore so much, as you guys know, but Damian Moore wrote this article about Angel Studios, and it's amazing.
You quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
So at this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be at Moscow, Bangkok, LA. She's a major operator.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own.
Remember, Jim Caviezel is playing Tim Ballard. What woman wouldn't want him?
This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance. But those pieces back together.
When God tells you what to do, you cannot hesitate.
They really definitely played on the emotional pull for people. And if you notice here in the corner of the little ticker, it says a fan went to buy tickets. Doing stuff like that encourages people, like people want to be a part of it. They want to see their name pop up on the screen. They want to be like, oh yeah, I'm helping out. So they went and bought the pay it forward plan, right? That's how a lot of this went. All right, let's get into this a little bit. Hey, everybody popping in. It's good to see you guys. No more Jim Caviezel. By the way, Jim Caviezel, no, he is not LDS. Jim Caviezel is a devout Catholic who likes to ignore all the problems within the Catholic Church too. But that's a story for another day. We've got to do a whole deep dive on Jim Caviezel and his crazy conspiracy theories. A QAnon conspiracy theorist, but anyways, he is a whole nut job on himself, in my opinion. Oh, did I mute him? Darn.
Live stream for Sound of Freedom. We are so excited to have you guys here. The when we're looking at Sound of Freedom, the response that we're
Thrive is another big one, Elizabeth. Thrive is another MLM. Avon is another MLM. Yeah, we should do that someday. We should actually break down some of these, the Utah-based ones versus the Mormon affiliated MLMs versus the non. I think you guys would be really shocked by who is all Mormon based or has ties to Utah. doTERRA, Young Living, a lot of the Freedom brand energy drink supplements that are marketed like MLMs, they're from Utah. There's a lot. There's absolutely a whole lot. My mother-in-law still has Avon stuff. Just so you know, Avon's probably my favorite MLM just because I have a collection of all the 70s plates too. My ex-mother-in-law, she wasn't my mother-in-law. My Mackenzie's grandmother on her dad's side, we were never married, so not my mother-in-law. She was an Avon sales rep and she collected those plates that they got every year. Scentsy, yep. From like the 60s and the 70s. I don't know if any of you guys know what I'm talking about. They were the display plates with the little stands that they sit on. We have all of those from like the 60s and 70s. It's mind-blowing to me. But anyways, and I love Avon's. They have holiday little guys. And there's one that used to sing, he was a moose on or like ice skates. And he would say, I'm Mark the Moose. I'm on the loose, spreading Christmas joy to bring you Christmas cheer, to bring you joy and happiness throughout the coming year. And he would like sit on his little skates and rock. So I have a lot of Avon stuff around my house.
We're getting, it's absolutely incredible. I want to start out by saying thank you for joining us, because we have coming up shortly an interview with the CEO of Angel Studios and Tim Ballard. We also have some incredible announcements today. And during this
Dragonfly, that is so kind of you to say. Thank you so much. That right there is exactly why we talk about this stuff. It's not because I'm anti-Mormon or anti-religion of any sort. You guys are all adults and have the freedom to choose what you want to ingest and take in. But I think knowledge is power. And I think in these situations, a lot of people use their power and their influence and their money for harm. And a lot of these people get away with it. The corruption in the political sphere in Utah among the Mormon church is very toxic. And we're seeing a lot of people harmed because of it, because the Mormon church and the offshoots. Now, a lot of these are offshoots of the Mormon church. However, they have roots in that. And the Mormon leadership does not come out and basically disavow a lot of the things like these extremist behaviors, just like we saw with when Blaise Thibodeau went missing. His mother Spring and his uncle were deeply involved in these extremist offshoots, which the Mormon church in a way is kind of condoning by not disavowing their movements. People like Tim Ballard have gone unchecked. Sean Reyes, so many of them, as long as they're tithing money into the Mormon church, they're kind of overlooked and things get skirted over. And that power and corruption, in my opinion, is extremely harmful to see it on a big scale, let alone we're seeing it on low level scales too. Within our communities here on YouTube, we have true crime true crime creators, Annie Elise, fucking Tim, or not Tim, Tyler Feller over there promotes The Sound of Freedom, Angel Studios. They promote this propaganda that has roots in these extreme conspiracy theorists that have harmed people. It is misinformation. Blowhorn Betty promotes this stuff. Olivia promotes this stuff. So you can take it from the very surface level here on YouTube all the way up into the political office at the White House. And this is a systematic, in my opinion, way that they're pushing out this propaganda. And people like Tim Ballard are going unchecked, millions of dollars. And meanwhile, they're harming people and making those who are actually taking these humanitarian efforts and bringing them to light and making a mockery out of them. Anyways, I appreciate you all being here. I know this is hard for a lot of you to understand or follow because it talks about all the things we're taught not to talk about: religion, politics. Those are your choices. I am not in your home telling you who to believe and what to believe, anything of that nature. High power control groups have problems. It doesn't matter if it's an MLM that has no religious ties. High control groups are always going to be destructive and people get harmed in them. There is nothing good that comes out of high demand religions, high power control groups. There is nothing good besides a lot of harm for a lot of people. And people can continue their entire lives by keeping the wool over their eyes, but it's because they don't want to hear the truth. They shut out the truth. It's part of the indoctrination process. You don't listen to your critics. And that's how these people continue to rise to fame, in my opinion. Anyways, let's continue. Sorry. You guys know me. I have a lot to say about a lot of stuff.
Live stream, you're going to have the opportunity to get a buy one, get one for tickets for Sound of Freedom. So you can go to angel.com/BOGO and you can, June says, already have tickets. Yes, I love that. Awesome. Frankie, going to see the movie this Monday. Thank you so much, Frankie, for joining us in this beautiful film that is Sound of Freedom. Angel Studios is the new Hollywood. Yeah, well, hopefully, with better stories. But that being said, we are so grateful to have you guys again. You can go to angel.com/BOGO and you can buy one.
I wonder why they never highlight my comments when I'm over there harassing them. And I don't harass them in any way. You guys should know by now that I'm not nasty to people like that. I get a little aggressive and a little like confrontational as far as like tell me where your sources are. Vet this information. You're spewing numbers, but where is the actual source of this information? I get a little aggressive with comments like that, but they don't ever highlight my comments on the screen, assholes.
Get one in terms of tickets right now. So angel.com/BOGO. The code is 2 million. You'll see it up on the screen. You can also scan that QR code if you're watching on your TV. So I want to talk about what's happening, how unprecedented this is. So we obviously are a newer studio. We've been around for 10 years as a company, but the theatrical division launched literally this year, Easter of this year, with His Only Son, which was incredible. We got top 3 in the box office. Everybody in the industry was blown away. But when we took on Sound of Freedom, we felt very strongly that Sound of Freedom needed to be a film that came out for the 4th of July. In a representation of the independence that we want to give to the 2 million children that are trafficked every year. That's why we have the hashtag 2 million for 2 million.
2 million children that are trafficked each year. Again, you ask them where the statistics are behind this, where they're getting the numbers. They can't tell you except some bullshit that Tim Ballard has been spewing. These are not factual numbers, people. These are not vetted numbers. This is not an accurate description of what trafficking actually is. And that itself is harmful to victims of trafficking. Organizations like this, the money, they don't even have aftercare in place for the victims. 99% of trafficking victims still at this point in time end up in jail because there is not the correct resources to help, because money is being funneled into organizations like OUR, Tim Ballard, and all their stupid ventures that do more harm to trafficking than good. And that's the reality of this.
To help us get 2 million people into seats opening week for the 2 million children who are trafficked every year. Someone just paid it forward. An anonymous person paid it forward for one person. Thank you so much for helping others who can't afford this watch this film for free. And so with that being said, when we took on this date, there was this realization. Matter of fact, many people in the industry counseled us and said, guys, don't go for that date. It's impossible. You are going right after and right before 2 tentpoles of major studios. You have Indiana Jones from Disney, and you have Mission Impossible from Paramount. There is no way that you'll be able to get the screens necessary to make this a successful release. And so, you know, people are like, you'll be lucky if you can get 600, 700, or maybe even 1,000 screens. I'm pleased to announce that you guys stepped up to the plate in such a powerful way. You've been pre-ordering tickets. You've been showing and giving the theaters courage to give us more and more screens. And as of today, we have passed over 2,500 theaters nationwide. We are so grateful. This is unprecedented.
It's unprecedented that you are still pushing it off as a truthful account of a CIA officer who was fired and an unpaid intern. No vetting, no fact checking, nothing, especially with a big issue like this. Now, could we say, well, Disney movies aren't factual, you know, dinosaurs, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Okay. I understand. But when they have used the marketing campaigns that they have and said that he is this hero in doing all of this good, and he's trying to run for political office based off of these talking points, there should have been somebody that checked and vetted this information. Somebody dropped the ball here. Well, a lot of people did, actually.
Never happened in any studio like ours coming into the box office prime time,
wow,
which is the summer,
so
and getting this great of a response. And so we are so grateful that you guys have.
Peppermint Patty, I will have to say, we actually had 2 missionaries move in with us after they were done with their missions and they went back to school. One lived with us for a summer. Great. But they were never one. I mean, the one is like a son to me still. And we had great experiences as that. But I can imagine like how scary that would have been. And I'm really sorry that that happened. I honestly, I can't even imagine how horrible not being able to track him down either. Yeah, they're not, well, after they're done with their mission, they're not really regulated by the church, but we had a great experience on that ourselves, but that's not the case for everybody. Then again, like there's so many things that happen and they go swept under the rug. It's terrible. And I'm really sorry that that happened.
Have come and joined us in this effort to bring awareness, because we believe, and we've said many times, that it's the most powerful person on earth is the storyteller. And we have the opportunity for the next couple months to make the story of Sound of Freedom and Tim Ballard and these children one of the most powerful stories and one of the most powerful movements in the world. And that we can show the world that this needs to end and that God's children are not for sale. Now, speaking of that.
What about God's women? What about God's children? Let's just use your words for a minute. Why are God's women for sale? Why were God's women, his chosen women, as Tim Ballard liked to try and tell them that they were the chosen ones? Why were they basically for sale or up for Tim's doing whatever he wanted to? Why are we ignoring that, Jordan? Why? You don't want to talk about the facts of things that were actually going on. And I wanted you to hear how he laid this out and how he brings Tim Ballard on and how he talks him up. Meanwhile, I asked the question, do you think Angel Studios knew of the rumors and the things circulating against Tim Ballard before going into bed, basically, with Tim Ballard on this venture and promoting him as his hero? Most of you said yes. You'll get your answer coming up.
I'm wearing this shirt right now. It says God's children are not for sale. I love wearing this shirt because people in the airports or when I'm traveling will come and ask me, hey, what's that shirt? That looks amazing. Or someone will say, hey, I got tickets. I'm coming to watch too. This is a theatrical shirt. There's another one that says 2 million on it. We want you guys to get these shirts. You can go to shop.angel.com and get these shirts so that you can wear them to the theaters. That way you can show the world with what you wear in a very, very powerful way what you're supporting and why you're at the theater. And it's a conversation starter. When people see this, they instantly go, where did you get that? What is that from? And I love it. And so please.
This is one of the Harmon brothers that owns Angel Studios, the Mormon-based film company. He is a devout Mormon through the Mormon Church. He lives in Provo, Utah, which is, for those of you that are Mormon or ex-LDS, understand that that is the holy land of all holy lands. I think it's like 80, it's higher than 70% Mormon in that entire town. Like, it is Mormonville. That's why I always try to make a distinction between what people who are not from Utah or like Utah Mormons are a whole different, that's a whole different group than other states. I've lived in many other states, been around Mormons my entire life, Montana for one. My friends were, like I told you guys before, we got, one of my best friends when I was 17 got married outside of a Mormon church because they can't have sex before marriage, of course, to each their own. But she got married at the ward. Well, actually, it was the stake building because the area is so small, but that was just the ward and the stake. So they get married. They were Jack Mormons, and then we had a keg in the parking lot. So there's that. Utah, oh hell no. If anybody sees, like, they won't even, that's why it blows me away still that Tim Ballard would venture into the strip clubs in Utah, because the whole pursuit of perfectionism, when what other people think of you and the way that they look down on everybody. The plastic surgery is really high in Utah. The amount of medications as far as mental health are extremely high in Utah, because they're constantly trying to put on this face that they are the perfect devout Mormon, that they are, you know, going to the highest level of the kingdom and their temple recommends. And they're really afraid of what other people think. They do not live their lives for who they are. It's really, really sad, truthfully. But he is one of them. Don't let him fool you in any way, shape, or form. Their money-making minds and the fundraising that's indoctrinated into them and the use of manipulation tactics around faith absolutely starts at the age of 8 or earlier in most Mormon households in Utah.
Please go to shop,
in my opinion,
shop.angel.com and get your premier shirts. There's limited quantities, and we'd really love for you to wear these on opening week so that people can see the movement that's starting here throughout the country and throughout the world. And that, again, like this shirt says, God's children are not for sale.
How about God's women are not for Tim Ballard's Ruth tactics? Why haven't you came up with a merch line that says fuck Tim Ballard? Voices for the victims, and put that into their legal fund. I would have think at least that you're pushing all this merch here and want everybody to open the conversation. Here's the conversation. It's open. Let's have it. Why are you remaining silent and promoting a fictional film that a man used all of these tactics to harm victims? You don't want to talk about that though, do you? This shit pisses me off.
So, again, during this live stream, you can get a buy one, get one by going to angel.com/BOGO and using the code 2 million. That, again, the theaters are selling out across the nation, which is incredible. But we need more and more people to flock into this and to
By the way, theaters were not selling out across the nation. It's called astroturfing. I encourage you to use Google and look at what astroturfing is. It is another manipulation tactic to get people to fill up and be a part of the pay it forward movement. People have this fear of missing out. FOMO is a big deal, especially in the Mormon church. If you see all of your buddies doing something and you're, you know, not quite the faithful one, or you didn't really jump on, then it's, what's wrong with you? This is a great thing to invest in. Oh, our family went and saw it. They were taking buses of Catholic nuns to see this. Entire congregations, youth pastors were taking all of their kids at summer camps to see this film. That's what was filling up the theaters. The theaters were being astroturfed. It's a marketing campaign. It's a ploy. They were also claiming that fire extinguishers were going off, the sprinklers were going off, the films were having issues. AMC Theaters, who was the biggest film distributor of the theaters, came out and said that that was not factual. That was actually not happening.
If you have the resources to pay it forward for someone else, if you don't have the resources, go claim a free ticket. There are literally 100+ thousands. I don't know how many tickets there are, but there's, I think, over 100,000 tickets that need to be claimed. People need to get into theaters and watch this. We don't want.
There is over 100,000 tickets. Think about that. He just said it right there. At this point in time, he's encouraging people to continue to buy tickets to pay it forward. But then he says there was over 100,000 tickets that still had not been claimed. People were not going to see the film. They were astroturfing it.
Money to be the reason someone doesn't see this. Another person just paid it forward for someone. Thank you so much for your support. So again, we're going to dive right into this. We've got an incredible interview today with Neil Harmon, the CEO of Angel Studios, and Tim Ballard, who The Sound of Freedom is about. And this interview goes into the history of The Sound of Freedom, why it took so long to come out, because it's been made for almost 5 years. And then how we ended up connecting and the miraculous path that we ended up on. It's just incredible to watch Angel's story over the last 10 years and how things have built upon each other to allow us to release this film in such a massive way. And with your support, get it out to the world. And it's also incredible and miraculous to watch Tim Ballard's story and his team and Eduardo and what they did, and Alejandro Monteverde and their journey to meeting to where we could have this collision course and get this film out to you. So without further ado, I would love to roll this incredible interview between Tim Ballard and the CEO of Angel Studios, Neil Harmon.
We are so pleased today to have a special guest here at Angel Studios headquarters.
This is another one of the Harmon brothers, of course.
We all know we're launching this huge film on July 4th.
Okay, I gotta be mean right off the bat. Sorry if this offends anybody, but this guy's eyeballs and his twitchy nature make me have red flag central. I don't know what it is. He might be the nicest guy in the world. It could be a really great human being, but his eyeballs and his twitchy nature, that just sends red flags to me. I don't know what it is, but he's got the Tim Ballard eyeballs. If you look at him, his eyeballs are that same twitchy thing that Tim Ballard has. Just wait, it gets really interesting here when they both are side by side.
That's so important. It's a on the edge of your seat thriller. It's a true story. And today, Tim Ballard has...
It is a true story. Sure they are, Neil. Sure.
...joined us at Angel Studios to talk about the making of this film. We've been friends for a long time. Welcome to Angel Studios.
Thanks, Neil. Great to be here.
Thanks for coming. So, to get started, I'd love to just hear from your perspective. I've heard from Eduardo Verástegui, his perspective on how this all began. I'd love to hear this from your perspective. How did this film come about?
So, really, I guess the film came about when the content for the film, meaning the true content that was the basis, happened. And that was in October of 2014 when...
Okay, remember what we've learned in the lawsuit now, all right? Oh, Elizabeth, there is a current class action lawsuit against the LDS Church brought upon by, it's not to do with this piece of it yet, from my understanding, but it is another group of ex-Mormons that have brought a class action lawsuit against the Mormon Church because the tithing money was not going to where it was. That is, why did it just slip my brain? Lorraine, are you in here? It's the Huntsman's is who it is. Sorry. Sometimes I get so many thoughts in my head and something just goes out. So that is being brought upon by Huntsman's. But yes, there is a class action lawsuit that's getting more traction again right now too. We could segue into that one of these days too and go over that if you guys would like.
A crazy investigation, this
You're
thriller that I actually lived in real life ended, or a big part of it ended on this island with the rescue of 54 children. And 54. It was one of the largest rescue operations recorded, and it made the news and all over, like in U.S. It was an operation that happened in Colombia. And Eduardo Verástegui, somehow someone sent him a link to it, and he saw this story. Well, his production company was working on a script for a human trafficking thriller, but it was completely fiction.
Oh, okay. So Eduardo Verástegui was already working on a story about a human trafficking group. Somebody sent him the link. It was a fictional film that they were working on, though. So, scrap that. Did you hear any mention of Glenn Beck raising $1 million to fund Operation Underground Railroad and the pursuit of a reality TV show? Did anybody hear any of that yet? Because from my understanding, in order to get Operation Underground Railroad off the ground, even Glenn Beck raised $1 million, and they were always hoping for a reality TV show. Funny how this all plays out. Now, remember, too, in the lawsuit, it has been recently mentioned that none of Tim's CIA background that we have been told has ever been verified or vetted. And now we're getting big old holes in that. So listen to the story and hear what you guys think.
I thought, well, what if it was based on a true story? Could this be it? And at that point, he reached out to me and invited me and my wife to go see the film they had just finished called Little Boy. What he didn't realize is months before that, we had been hit up by, I think, 3 or 4 different Hollywood studios. They had seen the same news piece and thought this could be a movie perhaps. And I remember I turned it over to my wife. I said, you get veto power. I don't even want to discuss it. I don't trust Hollywood.
My wife has spent time with your wife, and now I understand why you did that.
Yeah, because this is like a make or break thing, and Hollywood's a strange place. It's a place where, frankly, I think I'm in business largely because of the content that comes out of Hollywood and creates sex addictions and weird, it's
wait, what did he just say there? Let me back that up just a minute, because I want to make sure everybody heard what I just heard. Okay.
Is this is like a make or break thing, and Hollywood's a strange place. It's a place where, frankly, I think I'm in business largely because of the content that comes out of Hollywood and creates sex addictions and weird, that's where the demand comes from. So,
and Catherine's very.
So the demand is created by Hollywood, and he's in business because of people with sex addiction. Yo, Tim, how uncomfortable could he have been the way he can lie, though? He reminds me of some other people that just open their mouths and all they do is lie and rewrite history, and they lie and lie and lie. Tim, I got your next stop for you. I know a perfect partner for you.
Very special.
She's very in tune. And I remember walking off the lot of one of the largest Hollywood studios.
Yep.
And we're walking off, and I'm kind of mesmerized, like, oh my gosh, I know that show. You see all the big, the big studios. And she's like, nope, we're not doing it. I'm like, really? Like, look at this. This is cool. Like, I'm kind of a little wowed by the
I've been there too. I know I've been on the Sony lot and some of the other lots. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, anyway, so months later, we get this call from Eduardo, and he invites us to watch the film. We watch the film, and Catherine's just crying, and she does not cry easily in movies. She's she's just such a beautiful film. And she said, I don't know why they invited us, but if it's the same question that the other guys had, like they should do this. That night we went to dinner. Eduardo said, Alejandro was there as well, the director, and they said, we want our next project to be this. So let's get going. And I said, you're pre-approved. Congratulations.
You already got the Catherine stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So when Trisha watched Little Boy, she was deeply moved too. So that's a great story. So you guys got the chance to see Eduardo and Alejandro's work and just felt like this was right.
Something very special about it. And you sense the same, you feel the same in Sound of Freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually remember just in passing that you had a very specific request for Alejandro about the film. Does that ring a bell for you?
There was 2. I'll tell you the first one I'm going to talk about later.
Okay.
I said, whatever you do, you cannot create any content that would do anything to turn on a pedophile.
Oh. Yeah, it's sped up a little bit. Sorry. You want me to slow down? Here, I can slow down for you guys a little bit. I just want to get through it because I can't stand these guys talk.
In other words, don't depict any.
Right.
1. 2, Jim Caviezel has to play me. And I didn't even know Jim at all. And he was kind of taken aback because he's like, well, we were because at the end of the film.
Why would you think that Tim would pick Jim Caviezel? Any ideas of why Tim would want Jim to speak or be who played him in this movie? It couldn't have something to do with the fact that Jim Caviezel played in The Passion of the Christ as God, basically Jesus. It wouldn't have nothing to do with that, would it? Because Tim Ballard thinks that he was going to be the next leader of the Mormon Church and also the president of the United States. I mean, the whole Messiah complex ring a bell for anybody on that? That's exactly what I feel why he picked Jim. Along with the crazy conspiracy theorist bullshit that they all like to push.
You remember, they do this kind of cool transition into real footage.
Yes.
Which is a really cool part of the movie because you kind of wake back up and realize, oh my gosh, this really was real.
Well, I was at a screening at Santa Monica, and the people, a family arrived late. They had planned to walk in and leave quickly. So they missed the opening slate that said,
oh, not for this actor though, Kathy P. Jim Caviezel is a whole problem. He is a devout Catholic who spews the QAnon conspiracy theorist stuff. He is deep into the Pizzagate, all of that stuff. Jim Caviezel is a problem in himself. There was definite reasons why Tim picked him specifically, because the extremism, the behaviors, the Messiah complex. Yeah. It was very intentional, in my opinion. And it was a big payday for Jim Caviezel.
Based on a true story. They got to then they stayed through the whole film, and they got to the very end, and it switched to your face, and they said it was like a ton of bricks hit them that this was a true story. So
and then they follow up with some of the scenes that you remember from the movie, but it's the action, because we were filming it for evidentiary purposes.
Right.
So it's really cool, and that's why they didn't like Jim, because they said, look, Jim's tall, dark, and
they were filming for evidentiary purposes. Did you hear him say that? They were filming for evidentiary purposes. Where's those films there, Timmy boy? I would like to know.
And handsome, you're short.
And they were filming truthfully because they wanted a reality TV show and a sizzle reel. That's what they were filming for.
And squatty, and we got to get someone that looks so the transition isn't awkward. I said, look, I don't care. I don't really care. Hollywood. You guys have the skills to fix that. I said, this movie, the story is too sacred, and I don't trust Hollywood. But I know one thing about Jim Caviezel. One, he's a great actor. My favorite movie of all time was The Count of Monte Cristo, right? Yeah. And I know he loves Jesus, and that is important to me.
Yeah,
that's important to me. Someone who loves the Lord, I can trust. I can always trust that. And they said, all right. They called him. I think 4 days later, he committed, and he read the script, and he just told me later he was just in tears. He had adopted 3 children already from China.
Yeah,
and he had seen.
I've mentioned that previously. He says 3. I had only known 2, but he says Jim had adopted children from China. Another mutual thing that they have in common, because Tim has adopted children from Haiti.
He had pulled them out of trafficking.
And supposedly Jim's children, Jim Caviezel, the actor, according to what Tim Ballard is saying, those children were pulled out of trafficking too, just along with the same story that they tell about Tim's adopted kids from Haiti. Now, again, I remind you of Children Need Families, which was Catherine's venture, that they were giving grants to over 145 families. And the last quoted numbers that we could find were 223 children were brought into America, placed in homes. We don't know if they were legal adoptions. We don't know how much the kids were, in my opinion, bought for. There's no tracking or information on any of it. Children Need Families has pretty much all but up and disappeared. The links to them are broken links on OUR's website. But if you look back at the whiteboard again, hold on, let me just flop that on the screen right quick for those of you guys that might not have seen it. Let me go back up here. Sorry, give me 1 second. The whiteboard, Children Need Families, is on the 3rd row down from the top. Children Need Families, sizzle. These are sizzle reels and all of the ventures go to Tim Ballard. So yeah, I got a lot of questions about all that still. That part of it makes me really uncomfortable, the Children Need Families part, and knowing that there's 223 kids here that we don't even have a clue if they were legal adoptions, how it all went down. Where they claimed that they were being brought out of these horrible situations and stuff. Were they only placed in Mormon families? We have no idea. What was the Mormon church's involvement in that? Because if you look back at the Jimmy Rex interview, he basically states that they were showing up and giving people $20,000 to complete these adoptions and bring kids into America. But was the church giving them money? Because if OUR and Children Need Families were raising the money, why was the church? There's just so many questions and no answers or transparency. Anyways, back to this.
Situations.
He told me that this is his best work aside from The Passion of the Christ.
He has said that, and that is a big deal because he's been in some amazing movies.
Yes, he has.
Yes, just amazing films.
Right,
and
right.
He is a very, very gifted actor. So don't turn on a pedophile and Jim Caviezel. Yeah. And Alejandro was willing to play ball.
He played ball on both of those requests.
Good. Well, it's just I feel like Alejandro said to me that it was so important to him to make a film that was beautiful, like visually, because the topic's so hard, and truly the team achieved that with this film. Why from your perspective. I know you know, you're not actually, the film is, you know, Eduardo and Alejandro, and then you licensed the rights to your story to them, and then they made the film, but you trusted that they would do a good job. But you were more involved in the distribution decision than typically it happens.
Yes.
And why Angel Studios? Tell me about that.
It was so interesting because I recognize spiritual warfare. Okay, this is a real thing. I recognize it from the work I do. So I didn't expect it to be any different with a major motion picture about the work. And sure enough, my gosh, I don't know if you even know this story, but I only went to the set twice, but during the filming of the movie, there was 2 pivotal scenes that I just felt like I needed to be there to make sure they didn't mess up. Okay, but the very first day of filming, I think like $5 million disappeared. Like the funders said, no, we're out. And they were going to start production the next day. And the production company said, you give us the money or we're going to move on to another project. So I'm sitting there with Jim Caviezel in Bogota, Colombia. And he's saying, I don't know if cameras are going to turn on tomorrow. Oh, you got to be kidding me. So Eduardo, act of faith, like you wouldn't believe, because Eduardo, he only has $1 million secured at this point.
Think back to the lawsuit and them talking about the funding and the $1 million. Where'd that come from? Anybody remember?
The other ones who were going to wire the money said, we can't right now, maybe later. So if he commits that money, the production begins. But if he can't raise the rest, then
he's stuck without a movie and a shorter $1 million.
And a lawsuit when the guy finds out.
Yeah.
You committed that without the rest?
Yes.
And he told me, he just prayed and said, you leap of faith. Just like the whole script is about leaps of faith. He's like, this is mine. And he did it. And by the time they were ready for the next payment, the windfall came in and it was done. So that's where
a windfall came in and it was done.
Where you saw already happening. Then Fox had it. Then Disney had it. Then several people had the rights to it. And every time it happened, these names, big as they are, whatever, I felt zero. I just felt nothing. I felt like I hope it doesn't come out under them.
He was worried he was going to get exposed by some of them, in my opinion.
Weird thing. I just didn't feel right. And then I remember the life rights were kind of about to close down in a few months, and I was just like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's been, at that point, it's been 2.5 years or something since it's been done.
I know. This movie sat for so long.
2.5 years since it was done. Yeah. And I got this invitation to go to the set of The Chosen, which is the only TV show my family watches, right?
Oh, okay. Remember back to what we watched in the beginning.
And at the Goshen set. So we went down there. I found out later who invited us.
For a new audience to Sound of Freedom, The Chosen is an Angel Studios original. It's a TV series about the life of Christ.
Like you guys don't know that. Okay.
Well, no. The Sound of Freedom is bringing in about
really?
2/3 new.
Oh my
audience.
gosh, I didn't know that. Then watch The Chosen. It's the only TV show we watch. So I get down there. I don't know who invited us. We're on the set, and as it turns out, the group was going to. Everybody on the set was had given hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever to the production. Yeah. And we had. I think Catherine said we had given $250 a month or something. I'm like, okay, that's not why I'm here. Clearly, I didn't. I'm not. And they were going to move off set. They wanted to watch some film, and someone came up to us and said, "You guys should stay here because the person who asked you to come wants to come meet you." I said, "Who is it?" "Well, it's a surprise." So we wait there, and they said, "Okay, you can walk on over. He's waiting for you over there." I walk over, and who's walking on the path? But Jonathan Romy.
Oh yes.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, my 6-year-old is just like it's him. It's Jesus.
Yeah.
And he runs up to him and says, "Jesus," gives him a hug. I start crying, and then he says, "Hey Tim." Jonathan says, "Hey, Tim." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I'm the one who invited you here." He's like, "I follow your work, and I just wanted you to come." It is so beautiful.
So beautiful.
But another miracle that happened has to do with why we're sitting here, because you told me later, only one day.
I'm so glad you shared that story. I had never heard that story about Jonathan.
Yeah.
Jonathan's a class act, and how beautiful that he helped bring this together.
And he loves Sound of Freedom, loves it. He said that after he
Oh, this interview just creeps me out. I don't know what it is, but this shit just bothers me. Like now watching all of this unfold, but we still haven't even gotten to the article yet. Hold on, we're gonna get there and wrap it up soon. But I just wanted you guys to hear like the interaction with Angel Studios and know more about Angel Studios, because before I get into this article, I want you to see how manipulative all of it seems, and the fact that they've remained silent and just continue to push this stuff, I have a major issue with.
watched it, he said he
This
couldn't
is
stop thinking about it for
gross.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So he's good guy.
Yeah.
But the other thing that happened that was probably even more miraculous was I
Miracle.
ran into you.
Yeah.
And only to find out later that it was the only day
Yes.
that you even showed up.
Yeah, it was the only day I showed up to the Utah set, and I was only there for a few hours, and walked in the Jerusalem set, and then I heard Neil, turned around, saw your piercing blue eyes, and I Tim, it had been since 2016. Like I think we met in 2016 or 2017. It had been years and years, and then we talked, and you said, I think the rights might be becoming available for Sound of Freedom. And one thing led to another.
And right then I knew that was the first time I could compare that to all the other times. Like, this is it. And
I knew right then and there they wouldn't vet anything I actually had said, and they would go along with my story, and I had it in the bag to manipulate more people.
And I mean, I'm getting chills right now because I had that feeling while standing in this beautiful set.
Right.
A replica of Jerusalem.
So weird.
I mean, it was just the whole thing's insane after meeting Jesus, outside the set. Like, it was just incredible, a miraculous day. And then, of course, once the rights became done, the way God works, he's 11th hour God, right? By the time we got everyone together, which is like an act of God in itself, just to get everyone together.
Yes.
To get Caviezel to come and everybody in. And even some of the, like even Eduardo was like, I'm not going to fly in. I don't think he was doing other things. I'm like, bro, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Trust me.
This
is different.
Yeah.
But I remember you said, Tim, I think we had like 6 days or something.
Yeah.
What was the story?
Yeah. I think it was Thursday that we met. We decided to work together, and then we had to ship the trailer in front of his only son the next Monday. But then it ended up being Tuesday we shipped it, and it all worked out. And like you said, it was 11th hour, but that whole deal came together in what, 5 days, 5 or 6 days.
And I remember you and your brothers were like, if this gets done, it's the fastest deal we've ever seen or even heard of. Yes. These deals can take months. Yes. And just in less than a week.
Yes.
From beginning to end, it was signed and ready. It was just, and then look what's happened.
Yes.
I mean,
meanwhile, in the background, I just want to remind everybody for a moment. Meanwhile, in the background, while all of this is going on and he's becoming this, Hollywood star and working movie deals, they are actively silencing his victims by manipulation tactics, threats. They had gotten Troy Rawlings threatened to sue him for the Davis County investigation. Meanwhile, all of these other things were going on, but he's over here playing, Hollywood actor of the year bullshit like some superstar he thought he was. And all of his cleanup crew is actively trying to silence his victims. This whole thing is just, I don't know. It bothers me so bad.
Everything had been, the way had been made already.
Yes.
It was just, do you guys have faith to get on the path?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, truly. We're so honored that that you and Eduardo and Alejandro have given us this responsibility to distribute this film.
Absolutely.
So excited to distribute it. And it's like there are so many stories that could be told about that entire process. But those are for another day. I'd love to hear, just for the benefit of the audience, getting to know you.
Okay, here you go. I'm going to let this play for a couple minutes. I'll be right back. I got to run into the girls' room.
The backstory behind, so in the film, there's a moment when Mira Sorvino, who plays Catherine, says, you quit your job and you go rescue those kids. And that's in the trailer as well. Tell me about what happened there. What's the date of the real story? Like, did that real story happen right before the island raid? Did it happen earlier? Can you just give me some backstory around not only just the facts, but just also some of the feelings that might not be presented in the film?
So I'll start by saying one of the 2 times I went to the set over the 4 or 5 months or whatever it took. One was this time. Anytime Catherine showed up in the script, I made sure I was there.
Yep.
The other one was at the island.
Yep.
Which was extremely emotional. It was shot almost on location, just off from the actual island. But so I was down there because that part is so important. And even though, you know, Mira's scenes are there's not a ton.
Yeah.
But that moment was a pivotal moment. I'm so glad you put it in the trailer, because what had actually happened was, true to the film, I was working a case in Colombia that was looking to be one of the largest I'd ever seen. We thought we were going to rescue over 100, and we actually did. By the way, it was the actual number was 100 and I want to say 130, 127.
So the 54 that's in the film
is only telling you a third of the story.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a documentary that's going to come out.
That's right. That's right. We now have the rights to distribute it. It's called Triple Take.
Triple Take.
Oh, there you go. Triple Take. You think we're going to see this reality TV series?
That's going to tell you everything that happened on the island.
Yeah,
you got a third of it.
Yeah,
but there's only so much time in a movie, right?
Right.
So, I was working this case, and I was told, "You're done. Where's the U.S. nexus? Where's the American pedophile? And at this point, I'm 12 years into my career. I'm like, I don't care about nationality. I don't care about borders. I don't care about countries. Like, when you see what's happening to kids, it's transnational completely. And I've never seen a case, by the way, that doesn't touch a ton of other countries anyway, right? So it's like, this is all the same. God's children is who we're looking for, not American or Colombian or Mexican. It doesn't matter. And so I was so kind of incensed by the cold-heartedness that is bureaucracy. And
you know what? I'm going to switch gears right quick, because while we're listening to this and how disgusting this gets, like, I want you to be aware of what Angel Studios, a little bit more about Angel Studios, and then we'll get back.
OUR Genesis lore and led to its mission to rescue child sex slaves around the world.
Where did that come from?
Ballard's creation myth takes on epic proportions in the yet-to-be-released, purportedly true motion picture Sound of Freedom. The film transforms Ballard into an action hero on the level of Liam Neeson in Taken.
Sorry, y'all, hold on.
And Sylvester Stallone in Rambo: Last Blood. In Sound of Freedom.
Okay, sorry. I'm like, where is Lynn's voice coming from? Lynn's speaking to us from above. Okay, this is American Crime Journal. This is Damian Moore and Lynn Packer together. So this is some of the writing that Damian and Lynn have compiled. Angel Studios, 175 million, pay it forward scheme, and astroturfing of the Sound of Freedom. Okay, what we were just watching, how they were talking about it. Okay, here we go. At initial glance, Angel Studios' pay it forward scheme presents itself as a seemingly benevolent gesture, evoking a sense of warm altruism that resonates with most. The act of purchasing a few tickets after viewing Sound of Freedom grants one the delightful illusion of contributing to the end of global child sex trafficking, cultivating that warm and fuzzy feeling within. Jim Caviezel even blesses moviegoers with his appearance just a little bit longer as the credits roll, because nearly 2 hours and 15 minutes of Jim Caviezel as the ever self-important narcissist Tim Ballard just wasn't enough. That's true. Then they have the audacity to tell viewers that if they want to stop child sex trafficking, that all they have to do is purchase another movie ticket for somebody else to see the film. That's in the outro of the film. Yeah, they definitely played that up. Sure, they want you to believe that this is not a faith-based film nor a gateway film into QAnon. However, they pull out all the QAnon and charismatic preachers gimmicks, along with all the shade and disgusting accusations that 150 million can buy. Their goal and message is no different nor any more creative than just saying, Jesus loves you, now put your money in the plate. Truthful. This deceitful and repugnant situation is akin to when a parent decides to forego all medical treatment for their cancer-stricken child due to manipulation of a charismatic grifter exploiting their belief in the supernatural. Convinced that prayer alone can miraculously cure the illness, they abandon essential medical care, believing that their fervent prayers are enough. Tragically, we already know how this heart-wrenching story ends. Such exploitive practices prey on vulnerable individuals, perpetuating a disheartening cycle of false hope and devastating consequences. Yet this is the same crowd that claims that they know what is best for their child. It's a form of extortion and part of the cycle of abuse. It doesn't work because you didn't believe enough. You didn't pray hard enough. Like Tim Ballard, the preacher is not at fault. It's everyone else around him. You're told that if you truly care about sex trafficking, you'll buy more tickets. Don't ask questions. And those who dare do, they are just as bad as the traffickers and part of the liberal conspiracy to normalize pedophilia. They will tell their followers that telling the truth is akin to both attacking their faith as well as supporting pedophilia. We've seen that over here firsthand. Angel Studios' assertion that purchasing a movie ticket through their pay it forward scheme can help end human trafficking is disturbing and a dangerous claim. It's evident that their actions are marred by a lack of integrity and transparency, especially failing to reel their business partner who has turned into a loose cannon. The studio has yet to demonstrate a significant commitment to the cause, failing to offer clear information on fund allocation or financial transactions. As a result, donors remain in the dark about where their contributions are truly directed. Making sure you guys can still see. Yep. Okay, you guys can still see what I'm reading here. Okay, we got 2 articles by Damian Moore. Amidst the murk and smoke of Angel Studios' charitable facade, a series of perplexing questions emerged, demanding candid answers. The spectacle surrounding the massive windfall from Santa Fe Films deal, wherein the North American rights to Sound of Freedom were conveniently handed over to Dennis Rice, sets off alarm bells. The subsequent pilgrimage of this cinematic endeavor to cue Patriot and stop the steal rallies only adds to the cloud of suspicion hovering above. Transparency, that holy grail of virtue and financial dealings, appears to be an elusive virtue for those purveyors of supposed benevolence. As the labyrinth maze of financial transactions remains shrouded in deliberate haze, rational minds are left to ponder the ulterior motives that lurk behind their ostentatious claims of fighting human trafficking. Ignore me in my pronunciation of a few choice words. We all know I struggle. To assuage such well-founded concerns, one might reasonably expect a delay or display of unyielding dedication to the cause. However, the trail of evidence instead reveals a different reality. Angel Studios, with their hands perpetually outstretched for donor contributions, exhibits a curious proclivity for stopping short of shouldering any real responsibility. This dubious modus operandi casts a long and dark shadow of doubt over their proclaimed mission. Are they genuinely crusading against the grave horrors of human trafficking? Or is this a grand spectacle merely a ruse to rake in the riches hidden beneath the cloak of righteousness? As with any intricate illusion, one cannot help but suspect that the true magic lies in the alluring prospect of monetary gains rather than the actual pursuit of justice. In an astonishing display of self-righteousness, they shroud themselves in the guise of Christian martyrdom. Like medieval saints fending off heretics, they guard their hero from the prying eyes of scrutiny, but beneath this carefully crafted veil lies a disconcerting smokescreen designed to deflect critical injury and reinforce their unfounded claims. The echoes of history reverberate in all of this too familiar tune. The fervor and misguided zealots, fiercely clutching to the threads of dogma and ideology, is mirrored in the tactics employed by Angel Studios. Such a refusal to acknowledge the uncomfortable truths and to indulge in baseless beliefs is the breeding ground for deceit. Damien writes really well, but he uses a lot of big words that I struggle pronouncing. Unanswered questions and controversial practices unveiling Angel Studios Pay It Forward program. A dozen or so good, God-fearing moviegoers reached out to American Crime Journal with a shared concern that struck at the heart of their experience with the Sound of Freedom hysteria. Seduced by the Q-adjacent narrative of this fantasy thriller, they found themselves intertwined in its compelling message, leaving most, if not all, to hold their children a little tighter after viewing the film. Had they only been privy to the statistical reality that their child was at a far greater risk of being struck by lightning than the victim of the stranger abduction, perhaps they would have not had such anxiety, leading to much of the anger and frustration when they feel their concerns are not taken seriously. To dismiss their genuine emotions with indifference would be a selfish or disingenuous low blow, much like those who lash out screaming pedophile at those who ask for Ballard or OUR's accounting of millions of dollars. These individuals were the target audience for the Sound of Freedom and victims of Angel Studios and Tim Ballard's scheme. Something just isn't right with this, Larry, 62, a systems manager from Idaho, told me during an interview. He is a self-described born-again Christian and Trump-supporting Republican who concedes that he does not align with or even fully understands QAnon ideology. Nevertheless, it became evident that the systems manager with a master's degree in computer science embraced Q-adjacent concepts attached to the human trafficking conspiracies. Such a blend of beliefs and dispositions, while not explicitly subscribing to QAnon, does bear the markings of its influence, providing a captivating glimpse into the complex balance of being evangelical Christian and Trump-supporting Republican living in a QAnon world. Just 2 days earlier, Larry and his wife went to see the Sound of Freedom after it became the hot topic of their Thursday evening church group. Touched by the film, not only did he purchase 2 tickets via Angel Studios Pay It Forward, believing that a couple with a child may benefit from the gift, he decided to dig into the subject of human trafficking. The film's publicity had forced reviews and Tim Ballard propaganda to permeate to the top. He said he became sort of obsessed, descending further down the rabbit hole until he hit rock bottom. He came across Falling Down, The Demise of Tim Ballard, which was a living article updating critical information as it relates to Ballard and OUR, followed by Lynn Packer's OUR's origin myth. We haven't even gotten into those yet. That's when Larry decided to email us about our true intent. While the email was well-mannered, it broadened on accusatory that pushed much of the right wing's misconception of what or who they perceive as leftist or left wing. After we answered some of his concerns and explaining our true intent, Larry's next email was short and sweet. I think my wife and I got robbed. I'm assuming they meant. The email said, in his mail, it contained a screenshot of an Angel Studios Pay It Forward order summary. Below, he copied it and pasted the disclaimer underneath the summary. So what he adds here is, upon submitting my Pay It Forward contribution, I acknowledge and agree that Angel Studios will make reasonable efforts to use Pay It Forward ticket sales for their audience growth of the intended films or series. However, Angel Studios becomes the owner of all funds upon receipt and may use them at its sole discretion to further the Angel Studios mission of amplifying light through impactful stories. We've been asking where the money went. There you go. Something just isn't right with this, he said underneath. Larry and his wife weren't alone. American Crime Journal received more than a dozen emails pointing either the same or other concerns with Angel Studios Pay It Forward program. These weren't left-wing radicals looking to take down the work of Tim Ballard. And here is the receipt. Like Larry, almost every single one of them identified as a born-again Christians, except for a solitary Catholic. All of them self-identified as either conservative or Republican. All but 2 were Trump supporters, with the other 2 supporting Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Not only were single ticket reach, as they call it, for Sound of Freedom $15 on Angel Studios Pay It Forward program, even though vast majority of the moviegoers just saw the movie for $12, 9 or 10 for early birds who see the movie sometime before noon, or 3 depending on the theater chain and its location. Another issue Amber Lee brought us was the use of the word reach instead of ticket. I'm sure it's just a marketing ploy, but part of me thinks that there is some CYA here legally. If they don't ever say movie ticket, your case gets tossed in court before you can present evidence, because they, Angel Studios, never said the word ticket, she said. Several others echo Amber Lee's concerns. In a reply to a YouTube comment, one user explains their frustration. I understand that everyone may not claim a ticket, so fine. We paid $15 for a ticket, show them another movie, and if they don't have another one in theater, because I do think that this is the only one ever anyways, stream them another one of your programs. They've doubled their 2 million for 2 million goal. So now, does this go to charity? Even just 10 or 20%, and they're getting off pretty damn cheap, or are they just pocketing all of it? Some pointed out that Angel Studios' feature deal of 7 tickets for $105. Another person who emailed us called it a lazy attempt at pulling a fast one. It was not a deal at all. It was still $15, a so-called reach ticket. Online, there was infighting and accusations of dishonesty and astroturfing among conservative Republicans, majority of the MAGA variety, who seem to be at war with Q patriots. One thing that is important to note, not a single one of these moviegoers spoke of packed theaters or sabotaged thermostats. A few theaters were almost full, and the rest had just a few people. While this was not a major sample size, even the far right wing groups I've infiltrated, including one on Telegram that focuses on MAGA activism, MAGA, there were a few complaints of Hollywood interference when Q patriots were speaking among themselves. Instead, they planned to gin up compliments, pushing the narrative of Christian and conservative victimhood on theater review sites such as on Google or Yelp. It appears to be nothing more than a culture war, bravado, and activism obsessed with taking it all to the libs, and this war on woke Disney. At no point were there concerns about children expressed in any regard, much less those being sex trafficked. The only real concern seemed to be whether or not the Sound of Freedom could take Indiana Jones and the Dial of the Destiny. Some were even wagering and other claiming victory over Oppenheimer and Barbie. This is just the permeation of these far-right concepts and ideations into mainstream conservatism. I can't talk, has already woven a web of fears and fantasies within this demographic. While delving into the depths of the specific aspect lies beyond the scope of this article, it is undeniably lays the groundwork for comprehending the efficacy of the gimmicks, delusions, misinformations, and illusions within the MAGA sphere. The film deftly capitalizes on these deeply ingrained tendencies, employing an artful manipulation that strikes a resonant chord with its audience. Unanswered questions and controversial practices, unveiling Angel Studios Pay It Forward program. This entire ruse behind Angel Studios Pay It Forward, the Sound of Freedom tickets, aka Reaches, was peddled by Tim Ballard, Jim Caviezel, and Eduardo Vestagucci as this call to action awareness campaign so that an impoverished and underprivileged could know the dangers of trafficking. So quick questions they want to answer. They don't want to answer. Did you hand out tickets to groups and youth homes, those at highest risk for sex trafficking? Number 2, did they give tickets out to the battered women's shelters? Number 3, homeless shelters so they too can know the risks and the signs of trafficking. That's not in the film. Number 4, are millions of tickets going to be distributed to public schools in high crime and drug infested areas? The answer, no, because they know that these campaigns and free giveaways are rarely utilized. between 40 and 60% of rebate free money is never redeemed. Going back to the YouTuber comment quoted above, they've doubled their 2 million for 2 million goal. So now, does this go to charity, even just 10 or 20%? And they're getting off pretty damn cheap, or are they just pocketing all of it? As of July 24th, 2023, Angel Studios has been astroturfing off the back of its donors, one of the most inorganic, dishonest, and disgusting movie campaigns ever. To date, Angel Studios' Pay It Forward campaign has amassed over 11,635,000 donated reaches at $15 a pop, when the average movie ticket is $10 to $12 in premium locations. And of course, early bird tickets that are usually $8 to $10. This clearly is a tactic where they can squeeze any additional admission out of every 2 to 4 tickets sold, but it's only an admission on paper only. Not only was this additional $3 to $6, sometimes $8 in pure profit, but an acknowledgement and disclaimer that states, upon submitting my Pay It Forward contribution, I acknowledge and agree that Angel Studios will make reasonable efforts to use the Pay It Forward ticket sales for the audience growth of the intended film or series. However, Angel Studios becomes the owner of all funds upon receipt and may use them at its sole discretion to further the Angel Studios mission of amplifying light through impactful stories. Angel Studios has pulled in $175 million in donations alone, yet the film has only earned $125 million organically in ticket sales. Look at those numbers. Many will say that this is just a quick money grab, but it's much more sophisticated than that. What truly makes this unique is that astroturfing, while it appears to be a grassroots campaign and completely organic, is usually funded by corporations, political action committees, or certain wealthy individuals. They bankroll these organizations or schemes, whether it's to change public perception, rile up their base, or demoralize their perceived enemies, all typical tactics employed by Republicans and other right-wing groups. They vehemently rail against leftists and decry the mainstream media, dismissing it as to the left something, conspiring, I need glasses, to suppress the very film they champion, while vehemently denying any political or religious motives. They embark on of self-aggrandize. I'm going to screw this all up. Damian Moore, you need to stop with these big words. Employing hackneyed right-wing catchphrases like save the children and God's children are for sale. Imagine if Martin Luther King Jr. had acted with such defiance and hate, spewing nothing but vitriol at his opposition. Tim Ballard is a man who has the audacity to call himself Jesus, Moses, and an abolitionist. Your intelligence is further insulted with this gimmick of how this film is organic and grassroots. No Hollywood film begs for donations to supposedly serve public interest, or any other film for that matter. What Angel Studios, Tim Ballard, Eduardo Vespucci, and Jim Caviezel clandestinely withhold is the inconvenient fact that the studio has already financed the film's entire theatrical run. The theater seats stand paid for, irrespective of attendance. Whether the film's images illuminate the silver screen before a packed house, a modest gathering, or a barren theater, the radical right's conspiracy theories about theaters denying Christians the viewing pleasure are both rendered both ludicrous and nonsensical. Angel Studios has no need for your presence. They had already accounted for you. Yeah, I'm squinting. We visited and called theaters throughout the Las Vegas metropolitan area, spoke with theater employees in Los Angeles and Charleston, South Carolina. Did you know that people who went to see The Sound of Freedom in groups such as church groups were having trouble getting in despite the seats available? Credible people, honest people without agendas demonstrated how often they ran into problems getting seats, yet the theater would be empty. This wasn't due to theaters trying to prevent people from seeing the film. This was due to astroturfing, plain and simple. Churches throughout the Las Vegas metropolitan area were going to see this film, both youth groups and adults. Some even held fundraisers to donate to Angel Studios' Pay It Forward. Very few people claimed movie tickets and went to see the film for free. Others would claim free tickets, not show up, and it would close the seat. Some people were even buying Angel Studios' featured deal of 7 tickets for $105, except it was not a deal at all. It was still $15 a ticket. What is important is that the people defending the film and making excuses and death threats on behalf of Tim Ballard and Angel Studios, you are the ones being defrauded. You are the victims. We are doing this for you, just as anyone else that is wronged. For some who have been involved with Tim Ballard, Operation Underground Railroad, and Sound of Freedom before the acquisition of Angel Studios, this is like deja vu all over again. For years, the tactics and fundraising schemes are very similar to what they've dealt with prior to the acquisition. When Ballard and Caviezel were peddling this from the Q Patriot and Stop the Steal events, where did all that money go that was supposed to be for Sound of Freedom? One thing we know for sure, for a fact, is that Tim Ballard recoils in horror at the thought of being asked for financials and specifics. Angel Studios appears to have that same phobia. What? Hold on. Sorry about my reading skills there. Between eating glasses and then Davian Moore writes with some big ass words. Okay. He's incredible though, but we're not done yet. We got one more. I encourage you guys, please go follow Damian Moore and Lynn Packer. They are so damn thorough. Like you can't get better investigative journalists than the two of these in this situation. They have been on this from day one. And this isn't, we're not trying to make it right versus left. If you're a Trump supporter, be a Trump supporter. If you want to bang your head against the wall, bang your head against the wall. If you want to support Biden, do whatever the hell you feel is right. But understand, these are the things you are actually supporting and the crazy extremist propaganda that is being pushed behind things like this. This is, as I've said, it shouldn't have been a right or a left. This is a humanitarian issue that they've turned it into propaganda. It's ridiculous, but let's continue to go. One more about Angel Studios. Remember, I asked the question if you guys thought that Angel Studios, if they knew or not what was going on in this film, if they were aware of the controversy surrounding Tim, the rumors that were spreading. Well, here you go. Internal messages, warnings from associates, and a former OUR operative have been exposed. The executives of Angel Studios, including the Harmon brothers, for their acknowledgement and reckless disregard of Tim Ballard's credibility issues, multiple criminal investigations, and Jim Caviezel's association with anti-Semitism and his obsession with pedophilia. Hello? Not only is Jim a QAnon nut, but he is absolutely anti-Semitism. He absolutely spreads that propaganda. As the countdown to the July 4th premiere of Sound of Freedom ticked away, internal exchanges between a respected former OUR operative and Angel Studios founder, CEO Neil Harmon, who we've been watching, and Chief Content Officer Jeff Harmon, known as the Harmon brothers, along with their brother Daniel, revealed their nuanced awareness of the Tim Ballard and Jim Caviezel controversies, underscoring their comprehension of the far-reaching implications that could damage not only Angel Studios' reputation, but also the Harmon brothers collectively and individually. These communications also unveiled their strategic efforts to confront, downplay, and mitigate the imminent fallout from their audacious and precarious venture. Instead of just being honest, they went into full-blown damage control, addressing a chorus of red flags and alarms unabashedly, propelling forward with determination despite mounting concerns, evidence, and records that not only damaged their brand, but also exposed them legally. Front and center in this unfolding cinematic saga stands controversial B-list actor Jim Caviezel, who stars as Tim Ballard in this Taken ripoff. Reclaiming his place in the spotlight, briefly, he immediately plunges headlong into the depths of radical right-wing populism. While navigating the murky waters of QAnon, he champions far-right conspiracy theorists rooted in white nationalist and anti-Semitic narratives. Astoundingly, his Sound of Freedom fundraising efforts are overshadowed by a constant barrage of incendiary Q Patriots diatribes, almost notably the now infamous anti-Semitic Jewish blood libel. adrenochrome video. Caviezel's behavior was a shock to many as he returned to the limelight, much like his compatriot and former Passion of the Christ director Mel Gibson. Oh, God. Caviezel has persistently propagated anti-Semitic conspiracy theories over the years. These theories involve targeting prominent conservative boogeyman George Soros and invoking the ominous presence of the Rothschild banks. Pushing the boundaries even further, he delved into the uncharted realm of a Rothschild pope, weaving a disturbing narrative that perpetuates the notion of Christian victimhood and subjugation. Then there were criminal investigations and serious, credible allegations that loomed over Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad, the hero and the subject of The Sound of Freedom. Undeterred by resounding chorus of caution from acquaintances, business associates, former OUR insiders, and fellow members of the LDS faith that Ballard's claims, integrity, and intentions were in question, Angel Studios pressed forward and secured the film's distribution rights, ultimately distributing the production. This move left those familiar with the Harmon brothers stunned and uneasy as they grappled with a perplexing decision. In the realm of the cinematic ventures, one cannot help but observe the audacious gamble that paid huge dividends for Angel Studios as The Sound of Freedom took the 19th spot among the highest grossing films of 2023. It may also be their downfall. Curiously, within the confines of Angel Studios, not a solitary voice surfaced to contest Jim Caviezel's disturbing anti-Semitic convictions. It seems these unsettling beliefs were allowed to fester unopposed, likely guided by the perception that such concerns should be conveniently swept under the rug. One cannot help but discern a calculated strategy at play, a choice seemingly tailored to appease a target audience already steeped in profound anti-Semitic sentiments. When pandering to a group entrenched in such beliefs, the optics of perceived Jewish appeasement would be considered undesirable. Remarkably, despite Lynn Packer and my attempts to reach the Harmon brothers and Liz Ellis through personal and professional channels, coupled with numerous voicemails, they have chosen to remain silent. The pressing issue of anti-Semitism, manifest both in their film and its star, has been met with a resounding lack of response, leaving in its wake a troubling void. The paradox is striking when considering this stance from a purportedly devout Mormon collective who uphold the belief in their lineage tracing back to the lost tribe of Israel. Curiously, they forge ahead, catering to and bolstering their primary audience, Christian fundamentalists. This audience, while openly criticizing the LDS Church as a cult, finds resonance. I give up today. In the film's narrative, a poignant irony unfolds as countless evangelists, motivated by their shared faith, castigate the same film due to Tim Ballard's Mormon affiliation. He needs to stop writing such big, great articles because Becky has trouble with them today. Former OUR operative alarmed by Angel Studios' decisions. In the aftermath of Angel Studios securing the distribution rights for The Sound of Freedom, a former OUR operative was deeply concerned. Despite the storm of controversy surrounding Jim Caviezel, his involvement in the Stop the Steal movement, and the spread of anti-Semitic rhetoric, just the idea that they would go through with this left them shocked and puzzled like so many others. The intrigue deepened as they questioned the studio's affiliation with Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad, subjects of multiple criminal probes and damning exposés. Most troubling was the participation of the Harmon brothers, whom the operative held in high regard. This must be some sort of mistake or misunderstanding. On April 4th, this individual took their concerns to Angel Studios' Chief Operations Officer, COO, Liz Ellis, conveying their apprehensions about the film via a text message. I saw that you are distributing Sound of Freedom. OUR has been under investigation for a while. Last I heard in December, they still were, at least. I just don't want it to hurt Angel Studios. To which Ellis replied, it's going to be a controversial project for sure. We aren't promoting OUR. We are doing it to raise awareness, to protect more kids. And there is a screenshot of it. Hey, Donna. Hey, Rachel. Look at this. Look at this shit, though. You guys should have your answer now if they knew what they were getting into. Save the children, the ruse behind every right-wing agenda. More on that in another article. Harmon Brothers engaged a former OUR operative on the Tim Ballard issue. Angel Studios, or more appropriately, the Harmon Brothers, were aware of the myriad issues and burdens associated with Tim Ballard, the falsehoods and hyperboles, the contrived film narrative, and the shadow of criminal investigations. A considerable segment of high society was privy to Tim Ballard's trail of peculiar and unscrupulous assertions invoking the church and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Church of Cheese. Come on, Becky. The Harmon Brothers were clearly aware of the looming danger the situation could pose to their brand's trajectory. The path they contemplated though lucrative due to its renaissance I just said renaissance. I should be really giving up today. With the evangelical population also held the potential to shackle them in a particular demographic, fracturing their reputation intricately woven into the Utah identity. Evidently discerning the gravity of the situation, rather than just doing the right thing and cutting their losses, they instead sought the former OUR operative's endorsement, though, through any conceivable means. This pursuit led to a tete between the Harmon Brothers and the OUR operative. On April 12th, 2023, the trio were connected by actor Sharon, I'm going to butcher that, a dear friend of the Harmon Brothers. Jeff Harmon, hi, blank. I'd love to meet up with you at your earliest convenience. Former OUR op. Sure thing. I could meet tomorrow sometime before 2 if that works. Thanks for connecting us, blank. Jeff Harmon, I could probably meet between 10 a.m. and noon, Zoom or in person. The following morning on April 13th, 2023, Jeff and Neil Harmon met with former OUR operative over a 1-hour Zoom meeting. The Harmon Brothers seemed to harbor the belief that through some artful fleecing, they could convince the former operative into adopting a loftier perspective, relying on the time-worn, it's all about the kids mantra. Clearly, the operative was unaware that the driving force behind all of this was the amassing of profits by simply leveraging the currents of the right-wing paranoia and anger with the evangelical undertone. Shortly before the operative logged into the meeting, fueled by the notion of tugging at Neil and Jeff's sensibilities, the operative admits they were confused. Judging by their prior conversations and text messages, it was hard to escape the contemplation. Did the Harmons truly comprehend the enduring repercussions of aligning themselves with the radical right, entwined as it was with anti-Semitic ideologies often spewed by the Sound of Freedom star Jim Caviezel, or were they merely run-of-the-mill men gripped by greed? The Harmons, acknowledging within their own account, had already been alerted to the significant liability posed by the predicament of Caviezel, but readily admitted an even graver concern loomed in the form of Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad. There's your answer. They knew. They absolutely knew. For those of you that were wondering, they knew. It's all right here. By all accounts, the Harmons were well aware of the Jim Caviezel liability and Tim Ballard's issues. Unlike Caviezel, Ballard was largely untested in the public arena in the court of public opinion. Nevertheless, an evident veneer of right-wing influence draped over him. Time and time again, Tim Ballard proved himself ill-equipped to engage with genuine journalists and probing inquiries. He was propelled by a substantial ego, had a serious anger problem, and he unabashedly articulated outright absurdities both in LDS circles and far-right events. Should reason prove ineffectual, the operative might explore an alternative route, appealing to the Harmons' cherished LDS heritage, religious values, and moral convictions. During this meeting, the OUR operative told the Harmon brothers Ballard is a fraud. He claims to have had a vision where Abraham Lincoln, Nephi, and Moroni appear to him. He made up facts about some of his rescues. The former op was then told by the Harmons that they had dozens of complaints about Ballard. It wasn't just the pathological lies and radical claims made by the man. It was his ethics, conduct, and behavior. We know Tim is crazy, one of the Harmons admitted, but they didn't care. The movie is about the kids. The former OUR operative shouldered profound concerns and spared no effort in their endeavor to warn Angel Studios and the Harmon brothers. Relaying messages through shared acquaintances, both personal and professional, they reached out to Angel Studios COO Liz Ellis and employed mutual contacts in a bid to directly reach the Harmon brothers, sounding the alarm. Regrettably, their concerns went unheard. Regardless of the impending risks, the looming long-term liabilities, not to mention the impending suffering and harm that might be brought on by the likes of Caviezel and Ballard, the Harmon brothers remained resolute in their pursuit of financial gain. Right after the meeting, Jeff Harmon sent a screener link for 2 views of The Sound of Freedom, one for the former op and one for the guy that introduced him. Should he want to watch? Former OUR operative, thanks so much. I will watch it tonight. And here's text messages to show that. A final appeal. On the evening of April 30th, 2023, a former OUR operative once again dispatched a text to Jeff Harmon cataloging their array of apprehensions. This instance, however, pertained directly to the nature of the film itself. In the presence of an anti-Semitic zealot and an fabricator who peddles both aspirations and anxieties to the ill-informed and evangelical Christians, wasn't sufficient to prompt the Harmon brothers in their Christian studio to terminate this work of fiction. Perhaps a contemplation of the subject matter's implications and ensuing harm it would inevitably cause might induce a reassessment of their privileged stance. The former OUR operative wrote, I really am not sure about releasing the film. Sounds like you already moving forward with it next week. I didn't find it to be factual in the least, and those pieces that were maybe some ounce of truth were so exaggerated. I am sad to see how it painted Tim as Superman. I think he's a total fraud and misguided. I heard there will be a new accusation soon, possibly from another country. He has run around with some bad people and done things in the name of God. I think the movie is so well done and shot so nicely. I understand that you would want to have a relation with the filmmakers too. They're so talented. I hope it doesn't backfire on Angel Studios because I hope your intentions are good. I wish you the best and hope charges are dropped and investigations finish soon so you don't have to face a messy situation. Thanks for sharing the film with me. There's the screenshots. Jeff Harmon's response. I understand the concerns. We have gone very, very deep on the allegations. We are satisfied we can go forward. Lots of news on that front coming soon. As for the films, we will have lots of blog posts talking about what's real and what's dramatized and documentary footage from each of those rescues the film was based on. We haven't seen any of that. Former OUR operative. That's great. Here's text messages to prove it. On May 12th, 2023, Jeff Harmon made sure to text the former op. The investigation was dropped with a link to the LDS-owned Deseret News story, which, as previously discussed in Lynn's prior video, the editor was not able to confirm exactly. That's great, relied the former OUR op. Later that day, Angel Studio announced that on both of its websites and on YouTube that The Sound of Freedom would premiere on July 4th, 2023. What they didn't tell the public is that a week prior, Tim Ballard was forced to resign from OUR due to misconduct. Behold the intricate dance of deceit, gamesmanship, and clamor for fiscal acquisition. Such are the quintessential hallmarks of Operation Underground and its founder, Tim Ballard. A veritable, oh yeah, come on now. Damien has got way too big of language for Becky. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. Becky is not no Mensa scholar. We all know that. As regrettably as it is to utter, the tapestry of the transgression extends far beyond mere chicanery. Yet, what truly sickens me is the audacity of Timothy Blaine Ballard. He brazenly wields the children as pawns in his sordid pursuit of personal gain, cleverly employing them as human shields against criticism, all while ensnaring himself in a labyrinth of substantial evidence showcasing misconduct, criminality, an entire fabric of falsehoods. And let us not forget the millions amassed, the spoils personally reaped, all without the faintest semblance of substantiation for his obstantial rescues that, lo and behold, seem to have been inspired by action flicks from the 1980s. Fraud could scarcely be more conspicuous. A man ensnared in a history marred with hyperbole, embroidery, mendacity, and audacious inventions. Regrettably, the veracity of his words stands upon a foundation so unstable that it crumbles upon the mere breath of scrutiny. When a subject purportedly encompasses laboring alongside the most defenseless and imperiled children, his mere assertion falls perilously short of credibility. And then it says I think they missed something. Donate a solitary $1 to St. Jude at the corner Walgreens, and you may possess a receipt and get that warm, fuzzy feeling tingle in your stomach. But such a trifle certainly does not bequeath the privilege to assert that you have personally mastered the medical marvel of curing childhood cancer. And here's all the links that he's got provided. That's called sources. Holy crap. Lisa. Oh, he does. He's an incredible writer, but oh my God, he puts my skills to the test. And at one point in time, I was really good with the English language, but now I'm just like, if it's not the F word 5,000 times, forget about it. But he is an incredible writer, y'all, and he has done amazing articles. I encourage you to go watch them, but now you know. They had all reached out to Angel Studios. Former OUR ops had reached out to Angel Studios, and they just decided to brush it off and continue to go on with it. Continue to move on with it, right? Just keep it moving. Okay, let's go back to this and listen to this a few more minutes before we get out of here, because holy shit, that was a lot. That was courtesy of Damian Moore. Just so you guys know, American Crime Journal is incredible. Lynn Packer and Damian Moore work hand in hand. Damian Moore is an investigative journalist out of the Nevada area. He is incredible. But he uses too big of adjectives for my liking. Okay. At least I can admit that. I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. Let's try this again. I need to get one of those little things that just reads his writing for me.
I'm not blaming my boss or whoever. I mean, I probably would have had to say the same thing.
of bureaucracy.
It's the nature of bureaucracy. So
great writer.
I'm talking to Catherine, and I'm just like, I got to come home. I've had to come home many times. I've been going undercover in foreign countries at this point for years, and I've been told to come home so many times for the same reason, because the statutes that
He's been going undercover in so many countries for years. Oh yeah, have you, Tim? Have you? Have you really? You really have?
have authority to enforce have to do with Americans. And I've always believed that if you just, because you'll see in Triple Take, I would end up being right. I said, let me stay, let me do this with faith that we'll find the American.
How many of you think that we're going to see this Triple Take ever?
It might take arrests and seizures of digital media first, and we'll track back. And they said, no, that was too creative. As you'll see in Triple Take, it's exactly what happened. But I had to leave the government to do the case because they were not going to let me stay.
Because you'd be breaking some kind of regulation or something to do with the bureaucracy.
Right. No budget for this, no jurisdiction. And I'm looking at the Colombians who I promised, and they're like, well, you can't just leave. This won't happen if you just leave. So it was during that time that several things happened. One, I raised the money pretty quickly because of Glenn Beck. And Glenn Beck used to.
I didn't know that. Like, he helped you clear back when you were deciding whether, or was this after you made the decision?
Oh, I didn't know that. This is Neil Harmon. Remember, this is this is Angel Studios, Neil Harmon. This is one of the Harmon brothers that we were just listening to, completely ignored the warnings, continued to go on with this movie, even though they were advised of all the problems. They 100% knowingly went through with this.
Glenn started to help me raise money as I was leaving.
Wow.
And he used to be, he was in the original script, by the way.
Yes.
But they just, again,
the
room.
Yeah. The amount of space.
And he didn't even know me that well. I was on a show because of an American history book I wrote. He didn't even know what I did.
Right.
Again, this is all explained in Triple Take.
Right.
So anyway, but before I even asked him, I was talking to Catherine. I was just like, I wanted to come home. Because I said, I have to quit. And for her, it was so easy. It was simply, if you stay, do kids get rescued? And I said, probably. Yeah, I have to be honest. She's like, well, then why are we even, this is not even a decision. And I'm just like, well, Catherine, we have 6 children. I don't have a lot of savings. I have a really, really solid job. And what after? What happens after the rescue? She's like, God will take care of us. We'd had several spiritual experiences kind of leading up to this point, but I was a little more I was a lot more cowardice than she was.
See, and here he goes back to that origin story once again that is full of holes. We've heard this time and time again. And we, according to the lawsuit and all the other documentation that's been out there, we know that Glenn Beck was the one to raise the $1 million. Glenn Beck has, they've been in interviews talking about it. For those of you guys that have been in this rabbit hole with me, you've seen that has been talked about in 2013, same time when Sean Reyes was appointed Attorney General of Utah. Like, all of this stuff is just it is so intertwined. And Tracy, you are absolutely spot on. Those are both on YouTube if you guys want to see them, and they are cringe of all cringe. Operation Toussaint was really kind of what platformed him in Utah with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when we were about to leave and do this thing, now this is the beginning. Now, this is all happening at the end of 2013, like December 2013, and she.
Beck has been pretty silent. In fact, I haven't really seen much from him on this topic at all since he came out with his investigative report that he did, he didn't do it. He had one of his journalists do it for him because he was too connected to all the players. In that interview, we went over it previously. He stated that he basically did believe the victims, but he came out swinging hard for Tim Ballard, and we've seen the emails that were posted in the lawsuit from Glenn Beck to Tim Ballard as evidence in the lawsuit. And then he did the Blaze media interview from his investigative journalist, and he's been pretty silent since then.
At one point, after all these miracles that happened, we knew we were going to do it. We knew we had to do it. We knew that we had faith that Glenn would support it, but you don't know for sure, right? It's all leap of faith. I gotta leap out first.
They also used the Nazarene Fund and a bunch of money that was flowing into the Nazarene Fund that was kind of unwatched from the sounds of it too.
First. And I remember the second week of December, I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. This is crazy.
This is December of 2013?
2013.
Okay.
Second week of December of 2013. And after all these other experiences, we saw the hand of God and all these things. And she just walks up to me, and she's usually very sweet. But you've met her, so you can picture this too. She just goes like this. She grabs my collar, and she says, she looks in my eyes, and she said, I will not let you jeopardize my salvation.
Listen to how he adds to that story, because when we first heard the same story about they were on the phone and he had called home, and now when he tells this version of the story, she grabbed onto his collar and said, I will not let you jeopardize my salvation. This is a conversation supposedly him and Catherine were having, but in previous interviews that we've watched him give and articles that I've dug through, he always talks about they were on a phone call and he wanted to come home, and she was like, no, you're staying. You got to do this. You will not risk my salvation. If you watch the Adam Carolla interview, they talk about this too. It's just wild to see how he manipulates and, adds to and takes away from his stories throughout.
By not doing this. And then she let it go, and I was like, whoa.
Lisa, that's a really good
Okay.
point. I'm going to have to look at
We're going. Let's go. Like that. I don't know. I can't compete with that.
So one of the things that strikes me from this conversation, Tim, is this idea of a leap of faith.
A leap of faith, or would you call it complete ignorance? And on behalf of Herman Brothers and Angel Studios, in my opinion, they knew exactly what they were getting into and continued their grift, I guess is what I would call it. I don't know what else. What would you guys call it?
You described your leap of faith, Glenn's, Eduardo's, out in the middle of filming. You even touched on ours and taking on this film in a very short period of time. And there was a big leap of faith on choosing.
That was huge.
Because
everybody told you,
yes,
push it to the fall, push it to the fall.
Right. So there's this theme of bureaucracies and systems saying what you can't do. Right. And
or just people with common
and deadening that inner voice that says to you, you must do something. Yeah. And it's people like Catherine who are able to just
watch all of the pop-ups coming across the screen. Sorry, I'm gonna go back in because it's windy. But if you see all the pop-ups popping across the screen, you'll notice that they continue to say, oh, so-and-so paid it forward for 10 people, so on and so forth. And we just heard that a lot of those tickets are never cashed in on.
Through all that. And so I just feel like as we close this interview, I'd love for you to share with the audience who's watching Sound of Freedom what you think or feel they could do to help spread this message.
So I don't think there's ever been a film or any kind of
watch the emotional ploy right here,
story, medium, whatever, that explains what is happening to the children of the world like this. Because it's not a documentary or some film that's hard to watch, or like not that it's doesn't explain what happens, but these guys are such spiritual, divinely appointed artists that I can't even explain how they do it. Because you don't see anything, but they make sure you know what it is.
Yes.
But they do it in a way that's digestible and keeps you on this exciting thriller mission.
Yeah.
So you get to stay engaged, kind of white knuckled, what's going to happen, while learning what it is and then finding what the resolution is.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the film, everyone says, what can I do? Well, that's individual. People know different things. But what everybody can do is be a storyteller or participate in the storytelling process. And that's the beauty of this film, is that everybody can, at the end of the film, have the opportunity to pay it forward. Because they'll sit there and say, everyone needs to see this. Great, help them. How many tickets will you buy? And they will do it because it's the immediate thing. Because I can't put them on a mission right now. I can't assign them to go do some event or some political like policy, debate, whatever. I can't give them an assignment. I've never been able to at the end of.
And right there, he brings up his political aspirations again, of course.
Presentations. But here's an assignment. If everybody watches this, they will leave getting others to watch it. And then it'll take a few days for them to realize what they can do specifically. So this is the catalyst. This is the great movement.
And it will come, just like it came for you, something will come specifically. I'm convinced of that.
Yes.
There'll be an individualized call to action. And if people will listen to it and act on it, I believe that.
Thank goodness for people like Lynn Packer and Damian Moore and all the other journalists who have been on their necks in Vice News, who never let this go, because now the victims are becoming able to use their voices, even though it's in a civil lawsuit, should be a criminal lawsuit, in my opinion. However, thank goodness for people like that. This is so gross.
50 years down the road, that our grandchildren can look back and with the same gratitude that we look back at Harriet Beecher Stowe and Uncle Tom's Cabin and how they helped eliminate slavery. I believe that can happen as well. You've always shared with me that story. We're out of time and we have to close. Tim, I hope we get to talk more. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here to share in this, to sharing what's happened. This is a real hero. This is not Marvel or anything. This is a real hero, and he inspires in us.
Sure is.
And the filmmakers inspire in us, and you will inspire in others by sharing this story, exactly what needs to happen. And so go to angel.com/freedom, and we'd love to have you join this army of love to help these children.
If that's not an eerie look on this dude's face, I don't know what is. Yeah, Lisa, I'm with them too. Look at that face right there. Look at that face. Here, let's put him full screen for a second so you guys get the full concept of those eyes. Now, this is the look in the face of a man who knew exactly the allegations, as we've just heard, as we've seen proof with text messages, that they were fully aware of what was going on, the allegations that he had been removed from OUR for misconduct allegations. These rumors have been swirling for years. They continued with their mission and manipulated millions of people into believing that this was a factual account of Tim Ballard's life, rescuing and saving children. Meanwhile, what we really find out is he was grooming and coercing women the entire time, using spiritual and emotional manipulation. Think about how disgusting this truly is. If you really start getting into the grimy parts of it, all of it, and every one of them, including the production company, had something to do with this. I don't know about you guys, but I have a problem with this. Yeah, same with Tim, y'all. Sorry, my little one's home. Same with Tim. His are too all the time. Back to the whole Utah is usually really heavily medicated. I mean, to each their own, but they are the eyeballs of these guys, and the shiftiness drives me nuts. I don't know. There's just something about it. We're going to listen to his closeout and then we'll be done. Sorry, this is a long stream, but I wanted to actually dive you guys into how disgusting this really is.
$2 million for 2 million in the seats in theaters, representing the 2 million children that are estimated to be trafficked this year.
Thank you so much, Neil and Tim, for that wonderful interview. We are so grateful for everybody being here. Again, you have the opportunity. I'm Jordan Harmon, president of Angel Studios. You have the opportunity to be a part of a movement that we believe can be the beginning of the end of child trafficking and child sex trafficking. So tonight, again, you can get buy one, get one, going to angel.com/BOGO and use the pro.
How exactly is buying a ticket to this movie helping end child and sex trafficking? Can anybody answer me that? What did going to this movie and seeing this film or the ticket purchases do for human trafficking? Besides, take the topic off of the reality of what's really going on. What did it do? Anybody? Because I haven't seen any good come of it yet. None.
Promo code 2 million. And we encourage you to do that sooner than later. Pre-ordering allows for the theaters to open more screens and bigger auditoriums. And so please invite your friends, your family. If you have resources and you've already bought tickets, pay it forward so other people can also experience this film. There are probably millions of people around the nation and the world who would love to experience this film but don't have the resources. And so,
but he had just said earlier in this interview that they had 100,000 tickets at that time that had been unclaimed. They had over 100,000 tickets at that time that had been unclaimed. And they're continuing this whole pay it forward. You're going to save a child. We're going to end sex trafficking. We're going to end child trafficking. Exactly how? Would paying it forward to line a bunch of investors who some of those investors have grimy backgrounds themselves, criminal backgrounds themselves. How is that actually helping with this whole mission of ending human trafficking?
That's why we've invented the pay it forward model so that you're able to contribute in a way that's meaningful. And if you can't afford a ticket, then don't feel ashamed at all. Please go to angel.com/freedom and claim your free ticket as well. I talked about at the beginning that we have these shirts. This one says, God's children are not for sale. And we want you guys to wear these to the theaters. There are a couple different shirts you can get. And please help us continue to move this movement in a powerful way and get these shirts so that people can see what's going on. And
that's called the devil is coming out and you because you're lying.
They can ask questions. I wear these all the time, and people will either say, "I've got tickets for opening week," or they'll say, "What is that? What does that mean?" And again, we want to send that statement that God's children are not for sale. So we're going to do a quick Q&A. We want to get a few questions answered. I think there's some questions that have been popping up. Angie, thank you so much for paying it forward for 7 people.
We are not about to listen to a Q&A because let me be truthful. They don't get honest at all. There's nothing honest about them. They're going to sell their merch to you. They're going to tell you that you can buy 7 tickets for $105 and you're getting a bargain. 7 times 15 for my friends in the back that can't do math is 105. 15, 7. 5 times 7 is 35. Carry the 3. 7 plus 3 is 10. Oh, $105. What exactly are you winning there? How many tickets probably went unused? So again, my question is, with all of the information that Angel Studios had on all of the characters involved, including Jim Caviezel, Tim Ballard, all of the problems that were going on, the rumors, the investigations, they had no intent of slowing down their money-making machine here. This was all about money for them, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about it after watching this, but to me, it made me even more furious. Yeah, he was set up with a lot of that venom dust, for sure. He was given a severance package and a brand new vehicle and all sorts of stuff when he left OUR. They even were pouring money into his spear fund. This is all horrible. Every bit of it is terrible, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel after watching this, but I think Angel Studios needs to be held accountable and responsible for certain things too, because they intently seem to kind of coerce an audience into believing that they were doing some righteous deed to help protect and save children, when in reality, even their disclaimer says that, well, if nobody collects this ticket, we're just going to pocket the money, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So good question, Bright. They have never addressed that either. And you would think too that they would have been, giving these tickets to homeless organizations. It was about getting the population in that could be targeted. So awareness is key, right? That's what they used as marketing campaigns. Awareness is key. And those of us that were criticizing it, oh, they're just peace supporters and they're supporters of pedophilia and yada, yada, yada. But when you ask realistic questions of why didn't you give money to homeless shelters, youth groups in underprivileged areas, minority groups, like anything like that, their target audience, right, that claim that they have claimed are so affected by trafficking, why didn't they do any of that? Because there's zero transparency. It's all about lining the pockets of those around them. And that's exactly what they've done. And here, nobody takes accountability at all. It's terrible. Any questions before we get off here? The merch stuff has been ridiculous. They all push this merch. God's children are not for sale. What about the women that Tim coerced and groomed, in my opinion? They don't matter. They claim that they went between, I can't get an accurate number on the countries they went to on these ops either. It's one article says 20 and the next one says Tim says they've been to 30. We don't know all of the different locations, but what about the women and children that they made situations worse for, that they put in danger? What about the ones that they groped on their ops missions? What about all them? What about all the victims that haven't came forward, that have no voice? And here we are, them still touting Tim around as some freaking hero, when in reality, he's not. And Jim Caviezel, I encourage you guys to go look at Jim Caviezel's anti-Semitism and his conspiracy theorist bullshit, because it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. And millions of dollars Peppermint Patty was dumped into this, was funneled into this, and given millions of dollars. And where did it go? First class tickets to massage parlors and strip clubs for a bunch of wealthy white men. Mormon wealthy white men. It's so crazy. Oh, yeah, Lisa, I don't think they did a lot. There is a lot that they didn't obviously do, including vet their true story from start to finish. I don't know. I don't know about y'all, but this stuff just gets deeper and deeper the further you look and the more you like start pulling apart all the people around this. It's worse and worse. But that's all I have for you today. I wanted to talk about this and the Sound of Freedom and the Harmon Brothers Angel Studios, because so many people promote Angel Studios as this, freedom of speech type religion. They're bringing you the films that Hollywood doesn't want you to see. It's propaganda. They're pushing propaganda. That's exactly what they're doing. And they found a really big way of marketing this propaganda to line their pockets, in my opinion. So with that, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. I agree. Right, I agree. But were they helping to stop that, or were they encouraging that? That's my question, because what have they really done to help children? What have most of these people behind the big, faces of, oh, they're doing so much to help children, really ever done to help children? The people that seem to talk a lot about, oh, helping the children, such as Bullhorn Betty, for instance, what do they really do for children? What are they really doing in their communities to help these children? These are the same type of personalities, just up a level, up a different notch, higher platforms. It's the same thing. They all stand on this self-righteous, oh yeah, we're saving children. What are they actually doing? You don't see them out here lined up to adopt kids. You don't see them out here trying to get the kids that are homeless, that don't have food in their bellies every day, that go home, that their parents can barely make their ends meet. You don't see them helping realistic people. You see them on self-righteous missions to line their own pockets. That's how I feel about it. I don't know about you guys, but that's exactly how I feel. We can't even take care of our own veterans. We don't take care of our veterans. That's another whole nother issue. My goodness, yeah. Okay, y'all. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is a heavy one. This is one of those ones that our veterans are definitely not taken care of. Our first responders and people who responded to the 9/11 tragedies, such as Jon Stewart's speech on Capitol Hill, they didn't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Yeah, absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. The slogan's great. God's children aren't for sale. Nobody should be for sale. Human people should not be for sale. But Tim Ballard to be compared to Harriet Tubman, that's laughable. that honestly is like, yeah. But all right, y'all. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and talking about all this. And thank goodness for, again, I say it all the time, you guys, but I respect honest journalism and people that do not let these subjects go and just, people push back and they're like, okay, never mind. I'm not going to talk about it. Lynn Packer and Damian Moore, please go check them out. They are incredible and they have been on this for day one. So with that said, I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. I will probably see you guys tomorrow. We've got some more stuff we need to do. We've got a still missing segment. We've got the girl that's from Arizona that was murdered that we're going to talk about her case. That's a terrible one coming up. We've got the Lima stuff that we're going to jump into and talk about because I finally got my feeding a little bit under me in that one. My footing, I should say. And then we will just continue to go. We've got Jim Caviezel, Tony Robbins. We've got so much to talk about. Yeah, Marcy, this was a long one, but it's a lot. It's a lot of information. I absolutely will, Lisa. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely agreed. Okay. Have a wonderful day, y'all. Bye-bye.